astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
Are you ready? Debate fans, are you ready? For the handful in attendance and the thousands watching across the world, brought to you tonight by Jeranism, the #1 YouTube channel in all of existence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Make sure your argument is tight. Wait, what? You must got proof if you so right. Wait, what? Don't get dismissed on false claims, cause you gotta bring the truths and the facts. It don't matter if we're talking about racism, sexism, scientism, paganism, socialism, communism. Talk about capitalism, atheism, globalism. What about creationism? It don't matter what the ism. Live on Debatism.
And welcome everybody to Debatism X. It's time for another episode. We're on to X7. It is the 10th of May, and we do have a stand-in, a step-in, a last-second change because we had a no-show. So thank you very much to Austin Witsit for not being prepared for this at all, but stepping in to take on FTFE. Let's bring them both on. Say hello to everybody. We've got first FTFE. Welcome to the show. Welcome back again.
Oh, thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's starting to feel like home. Yeah, unfortunately, Stuart has bailed now on both of us a few times. For me, that means he's banned. I don't know how it works for you. I'm pretty sure you're the same. No shows don't get invited back. But yeah, I was looking forward to it because he said he was going to bring evidence with numbers. But yeah, Witsit stepped in. So thank you for that, Witsit. I'm not prepared because we were talking about Stuart's evidence, and I'm sure Witsit isn't prepared either. So this should be fun.
All right, sounds good. And we've got Austin. Austin, how's it going? Life good?
Yeah, man, I'm blessed.
All right.
Can't complain.
And if people want to thank Austin, please send him a donation at Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/WITSIT, Witsit. And let's get rolling. We've got, and Austin, I don't think he's ever done this format, so it'll be new to him. But let's start out with a coin toss. We'll let you pick first, FTFE, or let you pick. Do you want modern day debate or Debatism X?
Debatism X.
All right, let's see what happens. And it is going to be X. Nice call. You want to go first or second?
Austin can go first.
Okay, just a minute intro. Austin, just a quick, I guess your position on the shape of the Earth, in case anybody doesn't know. Whenever you start, we'll start the clock.
Okay, yeah, so the default empirical position is that the Earth is a stationary plane, and the most vocal people in opposition to this still lie about that part of it, which is just super weird. But obviously, we experience the Earth to be stationary. We see everything moving around us, and we experience the Earth to be a plane. If you're going to claim that actually everything is the opposite, the Earth's so big you can't see the curve, and it measures flat, and we build things as if it's flat, we fly planes as if it's flat, and we treat the world as if it's stationary, but it's actually all the opposite. And everything we see in the sky moving is actually not moving. You have the burden of proof, right? Occam's razor dictates we go with the other option. If you're going to claim that that's not the case, you have the burden of proof. So that's the simplest, most concise and succinct way to summarize this. We falsify the radius value. It falsifies the entire model. And in order to keep this belief system alive, they fell down a rabbit hole of just pseudoscientific nonsense, such as relativity, and to claim everything's an illusion. So we'll see if someone can substantiate the claims.
Thank you. Perfect timing. All right. FTFE, you got a minute when you're ready.
Yeah, so there is no default position in science. The way that science works is you go with what the evidence suggests, and all of the evidence and measurements suggest that the Earth is a globe. No flat earther has ever managed to falsify the radius value, because all they do is they strawman the way that we would do measurements and the variables taken into account. The fact is that every measurement ever that is done correctly verifies the fact that we are on a globe that is rotating. The mere fact that there is physical blockage proven by things like radar horizons show that there is a curvature to the Earth that matches the predictions and the measurements that have all been made. No default position, just what the evidence gives us.
All right, thank you very much. Case of the clocks. If you don't know how DEBATISM X works, it's a 30-minute each debate, but mostly to keep them from talking over each other. They'll each have 30 minutes on the clock. The clock will start when you said Austin's going to go first, so Austin can just begin talking. If he wants to hand it over, he can do so, and if he wants to, or if FTFE wants to take control, he can ring his buzzer. They each have 2 of those. You'll see the 2s there at the bottom of the screen. That's how many buzzers they have left. So let's get started, and we'll start the clock. Austin, when you start talking. And you can pass it over to him at any point, or whatever you want to do. Welcome to DEBATISM X.
Yeah.
Cut.
Like I said, it's really funny, man. They all just have to deny the undeniable fact that the default position is that the Earth is stationary plane, and that's just a fact, right? Because when we fly the plane like what? Like the Earth is flat and stationary. You're claiming it's not flat and stationary. It's just so big that we can treat it like it's flat and stationary. The default position based on empirical evidence is that the Earth is flat and stationary. Doesn't mean it is, but I find it very telling that, like I said, the biggest, most vocal people in opposition to this have to be dishonest about that. And that's, of course, because they know that puts the burden of proof on them, and they can't substantiate avoided reifications and affirming the consequence and begging the question and then straw manning flat Earth and blah, blah, blah. So I'll say this, and we'll see if we can start here. Obviously, there's 2 primary categories here. It's like, is the Earth moving and is the Earth a ball, right? And I happen to know that there is no actual legitimate evidence other than reifying and begging the question that the Earth is allegedly moving. So my question would be, do you have any exclusive evidence that actually verifies the claim that the Earth is orbiting the sun?
Good. Yeah, measurements, observations, satellites in space. The position of the Earth orbiting the sun is something very hard to actually measure from the Earth as on its own. If we just take the measurements that we do from Earth of what is happening, disregarding Earth's rotation, we're just talking about Earth's orbit around the sun. It's very hard with just the measurements that we can make on Earth to determine if it's us moving or if the sun's moving around us. So we have other ways of verifying it, like satellites in space, probes that have been sent to the sun. The Voyager probe that took pictures of the solar system from out in space. And I know the flat Earth position is to just deny that space and satellites are real, and then go back to me, you have to prove that space is real, and etc. But that is empirical evidence, and it is also experiments. The experiments are putting things in space to check these things, to take pictures, to do observations, to gather data while we're in space. So all of the measurements of parallax and everything, along with the observations from space, together show that we are in fact orbiting the sun, and not the other way around.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I see you're reading your chat to get your answers, but it's totally fine. You said parallax hasn't popped up in the chat, but it's cool. I don't care, bro, but I just think it's funny. Anyway, so you said calculations and measurements, which of course is completely void of specificity. And then you proceeded to contradict yourself and say, oh, well, on the Earth, we can't actually measure it, but we have other ways to do it. So you refuted your own initial claim in answer to the question, which was measurements. And you said, well, we don't actually have any measurements. And then you said we send things to space. And I know the flyer's position is just to deny that. This goes to show a major problem in this conversation that's reoccurring, and that is that the people that believe in the globe Earth model, they don't truly understand it. what you'll find is there's an inversely proportionate relationship between those who believe in it and truly understand it. It's very interesting. If you were to go out to space and send a probe to space and turn and look at the solar system and go to the sun, that wouldn't prove that the Earth moves around the sun in your own model, because there's a kinematic and even dynamic equivalence according to relativity. To know that the Earth was moving around the sun, according to your model, you would have to get outside of our galaxy and then find a way to be able to see all the way back to the Earth and the sun and then look at the relationship inside the galaxy. If you were to just go inside the solar system or a little bit outside the solar system, you wouldn't be able to know which body was moving in relation to each other, because all motion is relative. So no, even if I theoretically granted you this begging the question story where you appeal to the authority of government agencies that you went to a vacuum of space, it wouldn't prove the Earth is moving around the sun. So it's pretty simple. We went to measure the assumption, and parallax doesn't either. That's insane. Parallax is, there's admittedly a kinematic equivalence. If you knew what that meant, you would know that parallax isn't exclusive to the Earth moving through the sun, nor is retrograde, nor is aberration. It's called a kinematic equivalence. Very basic stuff. But what's funny is we actually proved that it's not moving around the sun. So it's not as convenient as to say, well, we can't actually test it or measure it. I promise it's moving, though. No, actually, we falsified it, and that's with Airy's failure, and that's with Michelson-Morley, and that's with subsequent tests. So we did the interferometry measurements, and it showed that the Earth was not moving, actually. So again, the default position is the Earth's not moving. We then did empirical measurements with immense precision. It showed the Earth's not moving. Airy's failure failed to show a deviation in the actual path of the star to the Earth as the Earth is supposedly moving. As it enters the new medium, you should see deviation that then hits the side of the telescope. There is actually no mainstream academic answer for that yet. So that's a major problem for you. Maybe you can address those facts, but I just directly refuted every one of your claims, showed you didn't understand it. You don't even understand your own model. Sending stuff to space doesn't prove the Earth moves around the sun anyway in your model. And Michelson-Morley and Airy's failure both directly refuted the belief that we're moving around the sun. So you now have a burden of proof, and you actually have to substantiate your claim antithetical to the empirical measurements.
Yeah, you seem to be saying words I'm not entirely sure that you understand the meaning of. Could you just, before I go on and answer you, could you tell me what you mean by kinematic equivalence?
Yeah, that's so funny. McToon said it. But yeah, it just means how bodies move in relation to each other. It's an equivalence in either direction. Just like Einstein said, if the sun is moving around the Earth or the Earth is moving around the sun, they're equally valid. The kinematics, that how the bodies move in relation to each other, since motion is relative, is equally valid either way.
Do kinematics involve any forces?
No, it's kinematics.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. So, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Anyway, yeah. So everything about space travel is based on the predictions of the, Earth orbiting the sun, and the barycenter of the solar system being everything orbits around. The sending things to the sun, sending things to anything in space that we do, is based on the predictions of the everything orbiting the barycenter of the solar system. So the fact that it's done with the calculations that it is done to include all the movements of the solar system backs up the claim that going to space and looking at the things that are there shows us what is happening, because it's not just going there and taking pictures, it's going there and going to places based on orbital trajectories calculated, that includes all the movements of these things. So yeah, the fact that there is space travel that takes into account all of the movements of the solar system actually refutes your claim that you wouldn't be able to see the difference, because everything that is put up there and sent to another place is done so with the calculations of everything orbiting the barycenter of the solar system. And also, you said that it was an appeal to authority. No, referring to experts in a field like NASA or any other space agency when talking about space travel is not an appeal to authority. Appeal to authority would be just saying, oh, someone in government that is this random person said that this is true, therefore it is. Appealing to the experts in a field is not appealing to authority. So you can't just dismiss me referring to the space agencies, and you can't just dismiss us going to space when all the calculations about going to space include all of the planetary motions and orbits around the center of the solar system.
It's crazy because I know I'm about to correct you on this, and you're going to turn around and do it again tomorrow. It's crazy. So, no, you and McToon's script that you mislead people with is literally a lie. So if you appeal to the authority, if they're an expert in that field, it's still an appeal to authority. Let me explain why, Craig. It's very simple. It's very elementary, okay? If two experts in a field disagree, could you then just invoke the fact that one of them's an expert, therefore what they say is true? What about the PhD astronomer Gerardus Bow, who says all the physics and equations that NASA uses to send satellites and probes actually use a geocentric system, including the actual dynamic equations, therefore proving geocentricity and refuting heliocentrism? Oh, he's an expert in the field. He's a PhD astronomer, Greg. So that's why it's called an appeal to authority, because not all authorities agree. Something can't be true just because an authority says it. Also, this barycentric like little diversion you're using shows you also don't understand there's a kinematic equivalence. You don't know what that means, obviously, but okay. So for starters, they actually use ECEF. They very rarely use the solar barycentric center. But what's even funnier is they say that it goes either way. They use the ECEF or can transform it to an ECI because it's simpler. They say that the solar barycentric center or whatever is way more complicated math. So, but it's equivalent either way. And to deny that means that you don't understand relativity. And I thought that we covered that you were going to research relativity like 3 years ago, since it's like the staple of your belief. So again, even if they did assume that it isn't exclusive to the Earth moving around the sun, again, then you diverted to dynamics because you didn't know what kind of kinematics was. There's a dynamic equivalence, whether with Newtonian or Einsteinian mechanics. I've explained this to you guys many times, and you just hand wave dismiss it. And then further than that, we're not going to believe the stories that you're going to space anyway, because you literally do have to appeal to the authority of government agencies that always lie, say, well, they said they went there, it must be true, and we don't have to believe that anyway. So and just so you know, whenever they supposedly even transform over to the barycentric center, they actually use the ECI initially to do that, which is Earth-centered inertial frame, which they transformed to that from the ECEF. So if you knew those things, you would know in your own paradigm, this doesn't prove the Earth is moving, and you're still avoiding the point that actual empirical measurements falsify the claim the Earth moves around the sun whenever we did MMX and we did Aries failure. So those who don't know, the light comes in from the star through the telescope with water in it. If the Earth is moving, it's supposed to deviate because it's going to change speed in the medium, right? And in your paradigm with the constant speed of light, it's actually just changing direction and increasing the path distance. So it's going to deviate and hit the side relative to how fast we move through space and spin. But it didn't do that. So Aries failure was an Aries success for a geocentric model, and then MMX refuted it. So do you have any actual evidence that we are flying through space? That's the question.
We went through relativity. I scored you on that before, but MMX was not about Earth's movement. It was about movement relative to the aether. They found no aether. Aries failure was also a failure to find the aether. That's why it's called Aries failure. Both of them were to do with aether, not to do with Earth moving through space, so they're irrelevant to this conversation. Nice attempt to non sequitur there. You're completely wrong about appeal to authority. Appeal to authority is literally, if you just, there's a media personality or something that says it's true, if there's an expert in the field that has knowledge in that field, even if there's two experts that disagree, referring to an expert is not appealing to authority. It's just, you're wrong about that. I know you'll never accept that you're wrong about that, because you don't ever accept that you're wrong about anything. They do in fact use, when they, for instance, sending the Solar Parker probe to the sun, they most certainly use the calculations of the barycenter of the solar system to send it there and get the data that they did. So, just you saying these things without you showing that it's true is a bit irrelevant, because we have sent the probes to the sun with the knowledge that the Earth is orbiting the sun using those calculations. But you keep screaming that we have a kinematic equivalent and saying that I don't know what it means. You attempted to explain it and didn't. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, could you show me the kinematic equivalent live? Could you bring it up and show me it, please? I would love to have it explained to you by you specifically. Take me through it bit by bit.
No, I won't be pulling anything up, but I'm going to talk to your chat now. Just so you guys know, if you actually choose to believe people like Craig and Mattoon, who are blatantly dishonest people whenever they have the kinematic equivalent shown to them and quoted and cited with relativity itself. I quoted Einstein directly explaining it. They've had all the documents sent to them multiple times. They know it's
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just saying no when I ask you to do something is, as far as I'm concerned, a complete cop-out and an admission that you are not able to do it. I'm going to ask again, and if you say no again, it will just be quite clear that you do not know what you're talking about with the kinematic equivalence. Just citing Einstein is irrelevant. Bring up the kinematic equivalence, show me it, and talk me through it bit by bit if you know what you're talking about. I am laying the gauntlet down. Show it. Back to you.
And again, if you in the chat choose to believe people like Craig from Fight the Flat Earth or McToon who deny things like the kinematic equivalence, that means you have to believe a lie to believe that your model's true. The kinematic equivalence is so simple. I don't have to pull anything up. It's like a 5-year-old would understand it. If the chariot's moving on the streets, either the chariot could be moving or the street could be moving because all motion is relative, therefore giving you a kinematic equivalence, because kinematics is how bodies move in relation to each other. If you deny this, you literally don't even understand the elementary foundation of your belief system, and you're actually excluding heliocentrism as a possibility due to the fact that from the Earth, the measurements show the Earth's not moving. You need the kinematic equivalence to even pretend the Earth moves through space. And this is very simple. Again, and with appeal to authority, he was wrong. If you say it's true because authority says it, that's an appeal to authority. If you do it in place of argumentation or evidence, it's an appeal to authority because experts disagree. They're lying to you guys, and you guys are in the chat amping it up for years. It's really weird to me. And by the way, last thing, he said he schooled me on relativity. Really? Let's go check out X. Robot Polisher just actually posted that video where I talked about relativity, and I'll end it with that. Your quote was, I don't understand relativity. I know nothing about it. I don't know why you're wrong, but I promise I know you're wrong, though. And then you ran around and did victory laps for 2 weeks and then came back and admitted that you and Brian Myers were completely wrong and didn't even understand Lorentz contraction, perfectly compensated for the missing time difference in Michelson-Morley after you ran around taking your victory lap. And you admitted you didn't know anything about it. And you clearly still don't, because kinematic equivalence is like the very basic foundation of relativity. So there you go. If you would like to concede that kinematic equivalence is like the foundation of your model, then we could have like a more intellectually honest discussion, you know?
Didn't deny any kinematics at all. So I don't know why you are directly lying about me. You seem to have a short memory about what happened before as well. The first conversation on relativity, I wasn't as clued up. I read the conclusion of a paper and I said, well, the conclusion says you're wrong, but I'm not really sure why. And then I came back after studying relativity and completely and utterly schooled you on it several times. Everyone can see the 11 debates that are on my channel, feel free. Or you could just watch a cherry-picked Flurf video on X. But anyway, yeah, you know, no one's denying that kinematics are a thing, and that that there is definitely equivalence principle. No one's denying that at all. I would just like to see you talk me through the specific kinematic equivalence relating to the solar system, because that is your linchpin here, Austin. That is your whole thing, the kinematic equivalence of the sun moving against the Earth. So talk me through it. Show me the maths. Talk me through the kinematic equivalence that you are bringing up. Don't just tell me that I'm denying it, because I'm not. I just want you to talk me through it because it is your point, mathematically.
Yeah, this is so funny. This dude just said the equivalence principle. That has nothing to do with it. You don't know anything, bro. This is wait, are you using a buzzer? Are you using a buzzer?
I muted him.
Okay, I just want to point out, man, that like you're just lying to people, bro, and I don't like that. You can believe the Earth's a globe, but you shouldn't have to resort to tactics like that, right? Kinematic equivalence is just
go.
Yeah, again, I was just saying that yes, there is kinematic equivalence. There is the equivalence principle. These are things that all exist. No one is denying them. I'm not saying they're the same thing. I'm just saying that no one is denying any of these things that you keep going on about. So I don't know. Maybe it's a hearing problem with you or not quite grasping how language works. But the basis here is that you are citing the kinematic equivalence that disproves everything that I'm saying about the calculations used for space travel. I would like you to back that up by talking me through that kinematic equivalence specifically.
This is why I said I won't talk to people like you anymore. At least you're out of others, but I guess I only have so much time to expose you. We'll make good use of it. I mean, you're lying. We didn't have a follow-up conversation where you schooled me on relativity. That's a lie. In fact, the last time we talked, you had a heart attack, and we haven't discussed anything since then. And you literally impulsively screamed and tried to interrupt me and talk through me the whole time, and I decided to stop talking to you. So you just lied to them again and said, but then you went and studied, and then you found out I was wrong and came and schooled me on it. That's a lie. We never talked about it after that. I said out of principle of you talking about my children, I wouldn't debate you anymore. So we don't have to get too personal about it, but it's like you're just lying. But the point is, the conversation wasn't about a paper. It had nothing to do with the paper, and you read the conclusion of the paper and it showed I was wrong. That's a lie. It was about the basic concepts of relativity in terms of MMX, and I was reading straight from Einstein's paper. You didn't understand it. You didn't understand that in the motion in relation to the reference frame of the sun, there was contraction. You denied it because you heard McToon deny it. But then you both got just destroyed face to face about it. You would as well right now. But anyway, so just so the audience knows, you can believe this, but you shouldn't have to lie about it. It's very simple, okay? Kinematics is observation. So when we look up, we see the planets move, we see the stars move, we map it out, right? That's called kinematics. We use geometry to map it out. Kepler's laws, for example, kinematics. So there's a kinematic equivalence, meaning we can observe those things from the Earth being stationary, the way we observe it, or it can look like that because actually we're moving through space. There's a kinematic equivalence. It's very simple. There's also a dynamic equivalence. And the top level experts on relativity have all broken down all the math and showed it, including William Rosser has broken it all down and showed the dynamic equivalence. So, and then you flipped and said that you weren't claiming the equivalence principle was the kinematic equivalence, but you were. You just don't know what you're talking about. So we'll go back to the main point. Can you actually verify that the Earth is orbiting around the sun, right? And even if you invoke things going out into space, it wouldn't because of the kinematic equivalence, okay? And we can't verify it anyway. You're just appealing to the authority of the government. So let's ask it like this. You don't understand it. If the audience member isn't going to go research that, it wouldn't change unless you're outside the galaxy. I don't think they'll ever wake up. I could care less if they gaslight me like you are. Let's go to the next part, though. Throwing out the government going to space that you can't verify, can you actually give us exclusive evidence, empirical evidence that the Earth is orbiting around the sun? That is the question.
Yeah, so just so everyone notices, Austin didn't take me through the kinematic equivalence he keeps talking about, and he just claimed that kinematics is observations, which is, I mean, it's not even wrong. It's so wrong. But also, I just want to point out that we had way more than the one conversation. I don't know if it's memory problems with Austin, but he came into the debates that I did on that Discord 11 times. On my channel, you can go and look through the debates. There is 11 debates in which Austin is also there. 11, not just one, 11, in which we constantly discussed relativity after that first time when I went and studied. So either the two options are Austin is lying or Austin is slightly brain damaged. And I never had a heart attack. I had a really, really bad reaction to some medication that I'd been changed onto. So, I don't know why Austin would lie about something which you can go to my channel and check that he is there 11 times, but it's crazy. So again, the equivalence, the kinematic equivalence doesn't change the fact that the calculations using things like Kepler's planetary motion and everything to actually get things to the sun disprove what he is saying. He can keep going on about appealing to authority all he wants, but that's not how appealing to authority works. I am talking about any of the experts that go to space, all the stuff by SpaceX, the fact that I am talking to him right now from a satellite from space because I use SpaceX. Everything about it, all the calculations, all the predictions are all based on the Earth being a globe and the globe orbiting around the sun. I'm just going to keep pushing it back to him. He will keep saying kinematic equivalence, when I really don't think he knows what it means. I want to see the kinematic equivalence. I don't want him to talk about it. I want him to put up the kinematic equivalence on stream and take me through it bit by bit. Otherwise, he needs to admit he doesn't know what he's talking about when he says kinematic equivalence.
Okay, so his argument is I need to show it to him on stream, or I don't know what I'm talking about. And people that eat you up, bro, I gotta be honest, like, let's be real, they're genetically modified, they're not coming back, right? Because it's very obvious that you're lying. You don't know, you thought it was equivalence principle, my brother, and everyone knows it. It's in the ether forever now. If you start saying that's not what happened, it's already recorded. It's okay that you don't understand it. I'm not claiming to be an expert on relativity, but I certainly understand the basics of it that you do not grasp. Kinematics, you then said Kepler's laws and the actual equations for it prove the Earth's moving around the sun. What in the world are you talking about? You don't understand anything. All I would have to do is pull up an ECEF coordinate system, and that has everything mapped out from the Earth-centered system with kinematics, because that's all kinematics is. It's the observational paths. Literally, just Google ECEF, the very coordinate system you use for eclipses, for your satellites, for your rockets. ECEF, that's a geocentric kinematic coordinate system. If you understood your own belief system, you would know that that is the first most important staple of relativity, okay? So you clearly don't know. You brought up Kepler and tried to deny as if it was evidence against the kinematic equivalence, and that's a perfect example of the kinematic equivalence, okay? And I even pointed out that if you went to space, it didn't mean anything. So this is what's so funny. I'm asking you, right? Because first of all, Kepler's laws are just ratio based on radii and periodicity of the observations. It has nothing to do with masses, nothing to do with dynamics. Of course, if you understood the basic parts of your belief, you would never say these things out loud. It's pretty crazy, but I'm just going to repeat the question. Okay, how about this? I'll just say it like this, and we'll give you however long to squirm past it and just repeat the aether, the way you said the aether is been debunked, whatever. You're just avoiding the question, right? Highly precise interferometry measurements should have detected the Earth moving around the sun, and it did not. And that falsified Newtonian dynamics within your paradigm because of Newton's first law combined with the assumption it was a force. You then invoked Einsteinian physics, right? Which is that the Earth is free falling in a geodesic path. Therefore, you can't detect it with interferometry because all motion is relative. And Einstein said, saying that the Earth moves around the sun or the sun moves around the Earth is equally valid. That is him addressing the kinematic equivalence. Can you offer actual empirical evidence that the Earth moves around the sun when all empirical physical measurements on the Earth showed that the Earth was stationary? And what would we expect to see in Michelson-Morley's test if the Earth were stationary?
Okay. Again, Michelson-Morley is absolutely nothing to do with the Earth's movement around the sun. It is simply to detect Earth's movement against the aether, which they didn't find. So any question about Michelson-Morley in relation to Earth's movement is irrelevant because that was to do with the aether, and we're not talking about the aether. That different things. Same with Airy's failure. That was specifically about the aether. Don't know why you would bring it up in a discussion about Earth's movement, because Earth's movement is not the aether. They are different things. However you want me to say it, ether, aether, however you want me to call it, one of the stones that Thanos put on his gauntlet, whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact is that Michelson-Morley, Airy's failure, were nothing to do with Earth's movement. They were to do with the detected movement against the aether, not Earth's movement around the sun. They are different things. So, don't keep asking me to explain MMX when that's not part of this discussion. And again, you keep going on about this is the kinematic equivalence. No one's denying that it's the kinematic equivalence, but I just wanted you to actually talk me through it. You keep saying you've got all these things that shows that, but you won't show anything. You just keep saying these things. All observations, all measurements show that the Earth is moving. We sent stuff to space to confirm, to see if Earth was moving, and everything is moving where we said it is. We sent stuff to Mars based on the fact that we know when Mars's orbit is going to be in the right position to send stuff there. We sent the Solar Parker probe to the sun based on the knowledge of where we are in our orbit around the sun. Everything we do in space is based on the knowledge and predictions of Earth being in a solar system. To just deny this is just denying everything that is known about space travel. And if you're just going to shout kinematic equivalence, I would just ask you once again, bring it up. Show me it. Talk me through it. Show me the maths. Don't just say it. Talk me through it. Otherwise, you just don't know what you're talking about. It's laughable that you will keep claiming that I don't know what I'm talking about when you say these things. You know, oh my goodness, like, listen to you talk, Austin. You know, when the things that you say about the moon, that it's you are the master of word salad without actually ever saying anything, and especially anything that you understand. Everything about space travel is based on our knowledge of a solar system. You can deny it all you want and say kinematic equivalence doesn't change the fact that all space travel, sending stuff to Mars, sending probes to Uranus, all this is based on our knowledge of an orbiting solar system and where things are going to be at a particular time. So denying it all you want doesn't change that fact. And I will appeal to the authority of people that put stuff in space when I'm talking about space travel. Nothing wrong with that, because none of the people that put stuff in space disagree with each other. Plus, it's actually backed up with a lot of evidence anyway. So if you want a whole bunch of reasons why we think that the Earth is orbiting around the sun, then I can talk you through a bunch of stuff, but you're just going to deny it and say things like kinematic equivalence without ever showing me what the kinematic equivalence is you're talking about. So I'm just going to ask once more. Can you show it to me? Yes or no?
Yeah, you can just Google ECEF. I think it's really funny that you're going this route, but when you don't have evidence and you don't understand your own belief, you kind of have to chant and lie and hope that people that are so desperate that they want to believe that you're right will just believe whatever you say. That's a you problem. I'm not running around like you're telling me what to do to go look up something that literally anyone can look up. ECEF. If you deny kinematic equivalence, you don't understand your model. But what I'm going to now do is prove that you don't even understand Michelson-Morley, and it's going to be pretty funny. So, did Michelson-Morley debunk the ether?
The results of the Michelson-Morley that they did not detect the fringe shift they would expect if there was ether.
So I guess that's a yes. You think it debunked the ether?
Well, yeah, all science agrees with the claim that the Michelson-Morley removed ether from science. I mean, you can deny it all you want, but it'd be funny. In fact, you know what? Please do go ahead, because it'll make excellent content for the video I'm making.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, don't repeat this guy in public if you want to be taken seriously. I mean, only within your echo chamber, maybe, but just so you know, right? If all you had to do was get rid of the ether, they would have just kept Newtonian mechanics. They didn't do that, did they? No, they came in and they replaced it with Einsteinian mechanics, because even if you got rid of the ether, but watch this, there you go. Robot Pollard's going to have so much fun with this. All right, second question. Is all that is needed to explain Michelson-Morley from within a heliocentric model the removal of an ether?
Say that question again.
Is all that's needed from within to explain Michelson-Morley from within a heliocentric model or paradigm to just remove the ether? Is that all that's needed to explain the results of Michelson-Morley?
With no ether, that explains exactly the results that we got from the Michelson-Morley experiment. 100%.
Okay, perfect. All right, next question. Can we use an interferometer to detect the motion of an object moving in a curved path? Example, the Sagnac effect.
Depending on the reference frame that you're on, you could detect the rotation of the Earth around its own axis, but you wouldn't be able to detect the orbit of the Earth around the sun because the reference frame that it's in. The maths is quite complicated for that, and would take a fair few minutes to, probably longer than that to go through. And I will be honest, I'm not entirely sure of all of the maths. I've had someone try and talk me through it, but an interferometer would not be able to detect the orbit of Earth around the sun, but it would be able to detect the rotation of Earth around its own axis.
The question was, can we use an interferometer to detect the motion of an object moving in a curved path? Yes or no?
It depends on the reference frame that it's in, like I just said, and of what it's measuring. And I just differentiated specifically between it detecting one thing and another. Like I said, it could detect the rotation of Earth around its own axis, but it would not be able to detect. It's physically not capable of detecting Earth's orbit around the sun. Again, the math for that is extremely complicated to explain exactly why.
At the time of Michelson-Morley was the popularly held belief for the orbit of the Earth Newtonian mechanics or Newtonian gravity?
Was the popularly held belief Newtonian gravity? Well, they didn't have any other version of gravity before Einstein came along.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, the only version of gravity we had until like Kepler and Einstein explained a lot of stuff was Newtonian laws. That's the only understanding we had until it was explained better.
Until Kepler, dude, you don't know anything about your own belief. Okay,
I said, did you not hear that?
Yeah, you said until Kepler and Einstein explained it further, which shows you don't even know what you're talking about at all. Kepler mapped out the kinematics, and then Newtonian came after that. You don't know your own belief, but it doesn't matter. So this is the point, right? Are there multiple reference frames in Newtonian gravity or Newtonian mechanics that was believed at the time of MMX?
Was there multiple reference frames believed at the time of MMX? That everything is a reference frame.
Okay, so again, you don't understand it. Newton actually proposed absolute space. He said everything is measured against absolute space. Yes, absolutely. If you've actually read the Principia, let's be real, we know you haven't. So everyone believed that Newtonian gravity was true. The Earth was moving around the sun because a force called gravity was pulling the Earth around the sun, and you could measure that motion in relation to absolute space. So when you say, oh, you couldn't detect it because of reference frames, well, you're invoking Einsteinian mechanics, which means you've just debunked yourself that you can't just explain it with getting rid of the ether. You literally, of course, ironically, Newtonian gravity requires an ether according to Newton himself because there's no time variable and it requires instantaneous action at distance in a medium with mutual contact. But again, you haven't read it. Follow-up question, because you admitted that you can detect an object moving in rotation. The question is now, okay, can that be done without an ether?
Oops.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So then the next question is, so is the Earth moving in a curved path around the sun?
The Earth is moving in an elliptical path.
Is an elliptical path curved?
Yes.
Okay, the answer is yes. So, okay, can interferometry be used to detect an object? Can interferometry be used to detect an object moving in a curved path with or without an ether?
Again, I already have specifically said that an interferometer is not able to detect Earth's orbit around the sun, and the maths for that is very complicated, not something I fully understand to be able to talk through. I could refer you to some experts that could. So I can see where you're going, trying to say, well, why can't it? Well, that's because they're not capable of doing it. There's no need for an ether for an interferometer to do what it does. It's just light traveling different length paths because something is moving. And all the stuff that you were saying about, trying to say, oh, you don't know this, you don't know that. Yeah, I was trying to explain that Newton was the only explanation that we had until then Einstein came along and worked on what Newton and Kepler and everything had done and explained things a lot better. But the ether was the explanation for things at the time because they thought they needed a medium. But when they figured out that, oh, these are results that say that there is no ether, then it helped Einstein come up with relativity. It's as simple as that. Yes, back then we didn't know everything. Newton didn't know. He didn't even like the fact that his law implied that the gravity traveled instantaneously. He, in fact, very much disliked that and said, don't apply any theory of gravitation to me. He simply came up with the observation. But it doesn't debunk that his law works. But Einstein then just explained things a lot better. And the results of the Michelson-Morley experiment helped Einstein come up with his theory of relativity because we had to explain why the results were there if there was no ether. It's as simple as that. So all this bolster and nonsense that you're spouting about the MMX and Aries failure, it's irrelevant. The ether was removed from science, and the ether is nothing to do with Earth moving around the sun. They are different things. So, you can try and sound smart all you want, Austin, but the fact is everyone here saw you lie. Saw you say that you and I never had any other conversations about relativity after that first one, when there is 11 debates on my channel that you are in. I don't know why you would lie about that directly when everyone can go and see the 11 debates where after the first one, where I had to do some studying, I then completely schooled you every other time you came into that Discord server. I don't know why you would lie about me and you talking 11 times when people can go to my channel and watch it. It baffles me, but this is what you do. You spout nonsense, you lie, you try and sound smart, and then you change the subject over and over. You talk about kinematic equivalence, but you won't bring it up and explain it. So there's all my answers to all of your questions. All of your questions are irrelevant to the fact that we've measured the Earth as a globe. We've measured the Earth is rotating. We've seen the Earth from space. Deny it all you want, because denial is all you have.
Dude, I love this. This is awesome. So, first of all, I don't remember ever talking to you again after you had a heart attack. You went and told everyone you had a heart attack. Now you're saying you didn't have a heart attack. I don't know, but you were screaming impulsively. Then you had a heart attack. So actually, people that watch your show reached out to me and asked me not to debate you anymore because you get too worked up. This format's a little better because you kind of have to stay calm. That's a fact. I literally took that into consideration. So I was actually trying to be nice to you. But anyway, you can lie about it, whatever. If people want to believe that you've talked to me 11 times since you had a heart attack, I don't care. That's a blatant lie. But let's get back to the actual facts of the situation. You're like, oh, Austin was in a room, I think, one time. I think he was there on X, I promise you, or something. I don't know. I don't talk to you. It doesn't matter. Okay, this is what's funny. You just refuted yourself. Everything you said was wrong, first of all. He didn't come up, he didn't just make an observation. The observations are already made with Kepler's laws and the kinematics. Okay, Newton just tried to propose some type of dynamics, and all he did was actually reverse engineer. He derived his dynamics from the kinematics, just replacing a variable and adding mass. And what he said, don't attribute to me, is if the medium is material or immaterial. He said it has to be, that there has to be an ether. So what you just did was refute your own position, where first you said all you have to do is get rid of the ether, and then it would perfectly explain Michelson-Morley. But then you went on to talk about how the complicated math of reference frames, i.e. relativity, right, are needed to explain why you can't detect the orbit. And then you went on to explain how, well, you got rid of the ether, so Einstein had to come and explain it. So then the answer objectively is, no, you can't just get rid of an ether and then expect the results of Michelson-Morley. You have to actually change the mechanics of the orbit itself, right? And that's what Einstein did. And you said that he just built upon it. But no, he didn't. They have directly opposite claims. Directly opposite claims. Newton said gravity is a force. Einstein said gravity is not a force. Newton said that objects continue in a straight path unless an outside force acts upon it to deviate it from that straight path. Einstein said objects can go in straight paths and curved paths, and they can go in the curved path without a force acting upon it. Einstein came in and changed the definition of orbit, right? And he said that it was free falling in a geodesic path of curved space-time, and that's why we couldn't detect the motion around the sun with the interferometer. So you don't even understand your own position. So my point was that when you say, oh, it just debunked the ether, you're incorrect within your own paradigm. It didn't just debunk the ether. Your model had to get rid of the ether and then had to come in and change the actual mechanics of the orbit, introduce length contraction and time dilation to explain why Michelson-Morley showed the Earth wasn't moving, which is why Einstein said Michelson proved that one observes everything on the Earth as if the Earth is in a state of rest, right? That everything occurs on the Earth as if it's in rest. So, and you address that. Wait, I'll just go to the next question because you'll just avoid all of it. So then the question is, would removing the ether alone explain the results of Michelson-Morley?
Again, it must be a memory problem with you, Austin, because you don't seem to remember 11 times being on my channel. Crazy. Yeah, I've already answered that question. I don't know why you're asking it again. The answer was yes. No ether explains the results of the Michelson-Morley experiment.
So can we explain Michelson-Morley results getting rid of the ether and using Newtonian gravity?
No, you can't use Newtonian gravity. Einstein explains it a lot better.
No, it's not a lot better. I didn't ask you if it explains it better. I said, can you explain it with Newtonian gravity? That's what I asked.
Not completely, no. Einstein is a much better tool for doing that. Newton isn't accurate enough for doing that. And the claim that Einstein didn't build on Newton is just nonsense, because Einstein specifically said that many times that he built on the work of Newton. Einstein describes it as not a force, whereas Newton described it as a force. but that's just a different way of describing the same thing. The outcome of either describing gravity Newtonian or Einsteinian is that mass attracts mass, that we can observe that mass attracts mass, that is the measurement that we can make, that there is a force that can be measured that is created by gravity. The results of either talking about it via Einstein or Newton come up with the same thing, that things go together. The mechanisms behind why they do it, according to the explanations, are slightly different. In fact, not really different. Newton never really gave a mechanism. Newton just said, this happens. We don't really know why. Don't ascribe that to me. I don't like the fact that it appears to do instantly. Whereas Einstein actually gave an explanation that there's a curvature in space-time, and things that are moving in a straight line move along the curvature of space-time, and that's why things appear to move towards each other. One literally built upon the other, and thanks to the Michelson-Morley experiment and other experiments like that, giving us the data that we had, it helped Einstein come up with the explanations that allow us to live the life we do now with wonderful things like GPS and satellites and everything. So, the questions of do we use Newtonian or Einsteinian, again, is irrelevant to the question of, is the Earth moving? Yes, the Earth's moving. We've seen it from space. We've measured it. All observations and measurements, all the evidence put together show that the Earth is orbiting around the sun. And, you just shouting kinematic equivalence without ever actually showing the kinematic equivalence is bloody hilarious. And I do hope Robot Polisher makes a video, because I will take that video and put it in mine.
Yeah. Baseless assertion, reification fallacy. Again, what he's going to get to do is he's going to show that you said, all you have to do is get rid of the ether. And then you said, yeah, everyone thought that Newtonian gravity was the case at that time. That's all there was. But that all you had to, that it perfectly was an expected result if you just get rid of the ether. Then you turned around and admitted that Newtonian gravity can't explain it, and that you have to actually use Einsteinian mechanics to do it. So you directly contradicted yourself. I don't think you actually are even keeping up with how you are, but when the video is made, obviously everyone else will be able to. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to show how this talking point you guys all say that no, Einsteinian didn't supersede Newtonian. They're the same thing. It's just more, it is built upon it. They're not the same thing. They have specifically different predictions. For example, with Mercury's perihelion shift. Hey, if they were identical mathematically, why do they give us different mathematical outputs? Yeah, that's ridiculous. But here's an easy way to show how stupid that is. Einstein or Newton said that space was absolute and fixed. And Einstein said space is not absolute and fixed. Hey, Craig, can space be absolute and fixed and not absolute and fixed at the same time?
No, we know Newton was wrong about a lot of stuff. And again, I never said that one didn't supersede the other. Absolutely, Einsteinian gravity superseded Newtonian gravity. That doesn't mean we throw Newtonian gravity away. That's not what supersede means. This is an Xbox One X, okay? Over there, behind the alien-looking plant, is an Xbox Series X. The Xbox Series X superseded the Xbox One X. The Xbox One X still does its job. I didn't throw it away. It still works. That built upon this. That's how superseding works. Yes, they have different predictions for the orbit of Mercury, because Newton was not accurate enough to explain the strange orbit of Mercury. We had to do that using Einstein's calculations, which were a lot more accurate and able to explain why that happened. That's it. One built upon the other. Denying that one built upon the other, which is literally what supersede means, is just showing your scientific illiteracy and need to be right about everything when you clearly are not. I would encourage everyone watching this on both sides to check out MC Toon's recent videos on the disastrous debate that Austin had on InfoWars.
Okay. I was about to quit anyway, but just because I guess I have, I might as well use them. I don't know. This is what's so funny is I hope the audience is paying attention. I'm trying to keep it concise because I feel handicapped. I should have done better with the time, but it's like he's saying that they give you the same mathematical output. They're the same. It just builds on it further. And I pointed out they have different mathematical predictions. How are they the same? But they're not only not the same mathematically, they're fundamentally conceptually antithetical to each other. It cannot be built upon it. It replaced it wholly and entirely. It is an antithetical theory. It says that gravity is not a force and that space is not absolute and fixed. Okay, so if you understood that, then you would understand what's going on here. So now we're going to go back to, okay, we can't just get rid of the ether with Michelson-Morley. to explain why we don't detect the motion of the Earth, you actually had to bring in Einstein, and you had to get rid of the ether, and you had to change the orbit to a free fall through a geodesic path without a force acting upon it, with non-absolute space, so that there was nothing to measure against or you would have detected it, right? And then you had to invoke time dilation and length contraction to explain away the measurement that showed the Earth was not moving. Isn't that correct, Craig?
Again, Einstein built on Newton. Newton didn't have everything right. Newton described what he saw and came up with laws of mathematics for it. Einstein explained why that happened. Newton never really had a theory of gravity. Newton just had observations and a law that he created. Newton never explained why gravity happened. And he, was not as accurate as Einstein. That's it. You can, however, break down Einstein's tensor equations to Newton's law of gravity, which shows that they, under non-relativistic conditions, actually break down to be the same thing. So they absolutely are connected. They are so connected. Einstein himself said that he couldn't have done the work he did without the knowledge of Newton before him. So to deny that they are connected is just ridiculous. Yes, they describe things in entirely different ways, but one was an explanation. The other was just laws and observations. That's it. Einstein gave us the why it's happening. Newton gave us a law, which was not as accurate as what we get with Einstein. It's as simple as that. But one was absolutely built upon by the other.
Yeah, you don't understand it. Actually, he took the kinematics of Kepler and then he just replaced the variable m, and so he just reversed it. You can derive Newtonian from purely kinematics, and Einstein comes in and completely replaces it. But this is the part that's so funny. You didn't answer the question, and you never will, and McToon never will either, because you guys can't. So we'll just do it like this. If the Earth is stationary, what would we expect as a result from Michelson-Morley?
If the Earth was stationary, what would we expect as the result from Michelson-Morley? We wouldn't expect anything different, because the Michelson-Morley experiment is not capable of detecting Earth's orbit around the sun. So that's not what the experiment was set up for, and it's not what it would be capable of detecting. So it would give us no difference.
I said, if the Earth was stationary, what would be the result? You started talking about the orbit, but then you said it would be no difference. Einstein actually said that it should have been decisive and was way more precise than it needed to be to detect the motion of the Earth around the sun. That's like basically a verbatim quote from Einstein. So would you like to admit you were wrong, actually?
No, again, the Michelson-Morley experiment is not suitable for detecting Earth's orbit around the sun. It doesn't have the capability to do that.
Because of Einstein's new explanation, you don't understand. Einstein said it should have been decisive, and that it turns out that Lorentz and Fitzgerald's explanation of contraction has to be the right answer, because it makes the perfect sufficient compensation for the missing time difference. But you wouldn't know that. But anyway, the point is, okay, so if the Earth were stationary and you tried to measure the motion with Michelson-Morley, you would expect the result that we got. That's the answer. Okay. And so just like Toon loves to point out, right, that's a measurement of stationariness. And so he said, just show me a measurement of stationariness. So then I said, how do you do that? He said, you set up a test to detect rotation, and then you get a null or negative result, and that's evidence of stationariness. So you agree that on its face, MMX is evidence of stationariness, and you had to update your whole belief system to say that you could never detect the motion of the Earth from the Earth, because space and time bend and warp, and time slows down and distances contract. You just can't tell. That creates the illusion that the Earth is stationary. Would you like to admit that?
Nice how Austin tries to strawman me there, because that's not what I said. The MMX is not the right tool to use to measure that. So it cannot be a measurement of stationary, because it's not something capable of detecting movement or not. What you could do is use a tool that is capable of detecting something like the Earth's rotation, which an interferometer most certainly is. And if you set up an interferometer and try to detect the Earth's rotation with an interferometer, you most certainly do detect the Earth's rotation. In respect, as it's the year's anniversary, I'm not going to drag his name through the mud. Bob he did his work. And rest in peace, Bob. It's been a year. I'm I know that was a loss to everyone. But Bob, did the measurement and got the hit the interferometer to measure the Earth's rotation, and then someone tried to measure the Earth's rotation with the mechanical gyroscope on the back of that, and they also measured the Earth's rotation. So a way to measure stationariness is to use a tool that is appropriate to do that. And the MMX is not a tool that is appropriate to measure if the Earth is moving or not. It's not capable of detecting that. So you wouldn't use it for that. You would use the right tool for the right job.
Your unfalsifiable religious belief claims that there is nothing that would be the right job for it. And that's because it was updated after MMX completely falsified your belief system, which is religious and has no evidence, is antithetical to empirical evidence. And that's just a fact. And if you don't understand it, it's okay. You were supposed to be reading this paper 3 years ago, but you proceeded to just continue to lie about it anyway. But it's very simple. See, now that we've got you all trapped with your answers, I don't know if you've kept up with them, right? But here's the question. So would we have detected the motion of the Earth if Newtonian gravity was correct?
What do you mean if Newtonian gravity was correct? There is no theory of Newtonian gravity. There is no correct for Newtonian gravity. Newtonian gravity is just a law that can be applied in certain circumstances that are non-relativistic. So that question doesn't make sense. So could you try restating the question in a way that makes sense?
Wow, Newtonian gravity doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean anything. That's interesting. You're wrong again. It's a dynamic claim, which is that there's not a time variable and there's an instantaneous action at a distance force that's inherent and intrinsic in mass, and that mass attracts mass. You guys still say that and don't know that Einstein specifically said that wasn't the case. So yeah, the idea was that there's mass from the sun. It's a big mass. It creates a force called gravity, pulling the Earth around it in an orbit, okay? So if Newtonian gravity were true and the correct causal mechanism for the orbit of the Earth that you believe in, would we have detected that motion with Michelson-Morley?
The question's irrelevant because Newtonian gravity wasn't a theory, it was just an observation with laws. Einstein is the current explanation of gravity. So the question is completely irrelevant. Newton's laws stand and apply in the right circumstances. You're trying to apply the wrong things to the wrong things here. I wouldn't ever try to describe orbits or anything like that specifically just using Newton, because that wouldn't be the correct way to do it. It's not the right tool. So you're asking me, would using the wrong tool show us this? I don't know. It's the wrong tool. I wouldn't use it.
So your model couldn't even explain orbits mathematically until 1915?
We have current explanations. What happened in 1915 is irrelevant.
So your model didn't even have dynamic equations to explain the motion of planetary bodies until 1915?
I never said that.
You literally just did. You claimed that Newton can't be used for that.
I said to use the right tools for the right job. You are asking, would we use Newton to detect the orbit of something? No. You wouldn't use Newtonian gravity to detect an orbit. That's not the right tool. You can describe most orbits, mostly, not all of them, using Kepler's laws and Newton's laws, but it's not accurate enough to describe everything. That's why Einstein is a much more accurate way to describe the world and what's going on. I wouldn't try to use just Newton alone to describe the movements of the planets and the orbits specifically. I would use all of the tools that are available for me. Science is never complete. In 1915, we didn't have all of the answers. Did we have the ability to predict how the planets were working and orbiting based on our knowledge at the time? Yeah. Did we understand everything about why it was working? No. Do we understand everything now? No, of course we don't. But the fact is, we have increased our knowledge more and more and more and getting it more and more and more accurate. I wouldn't use just Newtonian gravity to describe things that require Einsteinian gravity to describe or detect. It's the wrong thing to do.
Hey, is orbit a rotation?
Orbit is a rotation is described as something around an axis. I would say an orbit is a revolution. I think that's semantics. I'm not entirely sure if you could describe both a rotation around an axis and an orbit as a rotation, or one would be a revolution. I only got a B in English, so language like that, I'm not entirely sure. I could look it up if you like. What do you think?
No, remember last time you looked it up and the definition said to turn or revolve.
Okay, so maybe they mean the same. It's kind of irrelevant to the conversation, Austin. The fact is that we can measure the Earth's rotation, we can measure the Earth's orbit, we can measure the Earth's radius, we can measure the Earth's curve. Everything we do is based on the Earth being a globe. All predictions of everything that we do is based on the Earth being a globe. It's just how it is.
Hey, can you tell the audience what a curvilinear orbit is?
No.
Oh, so you don't understand your own belief again. So that's what you're claiming is going on in the Einsteinian orbit. He had to update it because the Newtonian orbit wouldn't work. If it's an actual curved path, then we would have detected it with the interferometer. But in fact, it showed that the Earth was stationary, and Einstein had to come in and replace it. And the fact that you mislead your audience about this is somewhat concerning, right? Because you shouldn't have to lie to defend the truth that you claim is the case. So the question is pretty simple, right? So if the Earth were moving around the sun, and Einstein said that this device was over 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be and should have been decisive, right? Then do you agree that that would have been, as Toon likes to put it, a measurement of stationariness?
No, it's the wrong tool to measure stationariness. Back to you.
But Toon said, and see if you disagree with him, that the way you get a measurement of stationariness, which is kind of an ignorant thing to say, is that you set up a test that can detect rotation, and then if you get a negative or null result, that would be a measurement of stationariness. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you need to use the right tools for the right job. Back to you.
Do you agree that a measurement or evidence for stationariness would be to set up a device or test that would detect rotation and then get a null or negative result?
We've been through this. If you set up a device that is capable of detecting something and it doesn't detect it, then that is a null result. But an interferometer is not capable of detecting the orbit around the sun, but it can detect Earth's rotation. So let's try and detect Earth's rotation and see what happens with it.
You said that the Earth's orbit is a rotation, so why can't the interferometer that's over 10 times more sensitive than it needs to be, and Einstein said should have been decisive, why can't it specifically detect the assumed orbit since it's over 10 times more sensitive than it needs to be?
You already answered that yourself. I don't know why you're asking me questions that we've been through already. So back to you.
Okay, it's because you claim that time slows down and tricks the whole world into thinking that the Earth is stationary and that the distance contracted. So can you explain to me how if you claimed a measuring apparatus contracted, but you just can't tell, it's going to always look the same, how that's not a unfalsifiable religious belief, that's just a reification fallacy that then affirmed the consequent that you need to get you out of the problem of the stationary result?
Lovely word salad there. Yeah, we've just got measurements and experiments of time dilation that work. So yeah, back to you.
Okay, you're just giving up. So you don't actually have any exclusive empirical measurements from the Earth that actually verify the Earth moves around the sun, though. All evidence from the Earth shows the Earth is stationary, right?
No, all measurements show that the Earth is moving when you put it all together.
Okay, so no, we made a measurement of the Earth that showed it's not moving, and what Einstein said was everything on the Earth will always appear as if the Earth is at rest, and that there's nothing we can do about it, whether terrestrial or optical experiments will never detect the motion of the Earth. So you agree, though, that you believe the Earth's moving around the sun, but that if we ever actually try to measure or prove that directly, we will not be able to do it. It's kind of just something that requires blind faith that you trust in, right?
No, we sent stuff to space and checked.
Okay, well, again, in your own model, that doesn't prove it. So I think the point has kind of been made that the evidence shows the Earth stationary, and you choose to believe the opposite without actual evidence.
17 seconds to go. Craig.
I'm going to do a review of this and count the amount of times that Austin called me a liar, which is interesting. When the biggest lie here is that him saying he has never debated me 11 times when those are all on my channel. Proof, Austin Witsit is a liar.
All right, you got a minute outro and then conclusion. And I believe Austin's going first. Whenever you want, Austin, start. A minute. Close this out.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's probably frustrating. I was like milking it with questions at the end. I bet you're like, oh my gosh. Actually what I said was that I didn't debate you 11 times after you had a heart attack. So you twisted what I said, and it's crazy. People amp it up. It's weird. But no, when we first talked, you said I don't know anything about relativity. I just know you're wrong. Then you keep using the word salad. You don't even know what word salad is, but it's all good. The point is that I gave you 3 years to try to figure it out, and you still don't understand it. And just for the audience to know, if you want to know the truth, right? If you believe you send stuff to space in your own model, according to relativity, it wouldn't prove the Earth is moving. Everything would look like it's moving regardless. It's all relative. You'd actually have to get it completely out of the galaxy to know, according to your own model, according to your own dynamics, ECI, ECFs, transformed over to the solar barycentric coordinate system. You should look those up. But just so you guys know, Airy's failure did not show that the Earth was moving, and Michelson-Morley did not. And then they came up with a story that says that time and space changes and deceives you into thinking the Earth doesn't move. So that's your decision to make.
Okay, Craig, go ahead. Minute starts when you start.
Crazy. I don't know why Austin lies so much. If the Earth is flat, I don't know why he has to lie to show it. What he said, and everyone can go back and listen, was that he only debated me once. There wasn't 11 times, and there was no heart attack. It was the reaction to medication. Relativity is a fact. Experiments show that relativity is fact, and Austin will just deny this all the time and call it magic and pretend that I don't know what I'm talking about when I schooled him 10 times on it. It's absolutely incredible. The fact is that we have measurements of Earth's orbit, we have measurements of Earth's rotation, we have measurements of Earth's curve. We don't just look at things individually, we look at all of the evidence together. All of the evidence together suggests that we orbit around the barycenter of the solar system, along with all of the other mass of the solar system. Then we send satellites to check it, and lo and behold, all the calculations of everything orbiting matches up with what we have.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That was fun. Let's get to the super chats. If you have a question for these guys, let's get them in. I'm going to try and move quickly so we can let them go. It's late for Craig, and Austin didn't expect to do this today. Let's see here. Starting off from the beginning, we've got thank you very much to 5 memberships from Justin Johnson. We've got from JSS Tiger, $5 to Austin. If FE has no burden of proof, are you happy with watching it fizzle out into nothingness? Globers feel no burden. You should.
Yeah, it's obviously not doing that though. I think it's funny that you guys have to lie about that too. Obviously it's growing and it has like a 99% retention rate, and we're getting on like way bigger platforms and people are talking about it. The fact that you guys claim that it's dying, it's just really weird. I just want to let you guys know that actually what made my wife a flat earther was seeing FTFE and Professor Dave lie so much. So just so you guys know, if you actually thought flat earth was so dangerous, you would start being more honest. But I didn't say flat earth has no burden of proof. Obviously making the positive claim that the earth is a plane, that it is stationary, it does have a burden of proof, right? But that's substantiated with the default empirical measurements. Your side claims that that's an illusion and the opposite's true, therefore needs to substantiate it. So obviously we have plane survey, the way that planes fly. The default empirical measurements and observations substantiate topographical plane. And I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you, but flat earth is not fizzling out. And if you have to run that narrative, I kind of feel sorry for you guys that you kind of misrepresent everything, but it's all good. I still love you.
Toby Walker. Toby says, if we let go of the claim of the globe, then we can drop the discussion about globe's burden of proof. However, as long as institutions assert it, the responsibility to substantiate it persists. Thank you very much. We've got the final experiment for $5.
Wait.
What'd you say?
I said, well, hey.
Austin, Jaron, Craig, all 3 of you are invited to participate in the final experiment, and the man behind the final experiment will be revealed Monday night. Well, there's a man behind it? Yeah,
the fact that Craig is so excited kind of gives it away, in my opinion. That it gives away that he knows who it is, and it's a glober. It's an anti-flat earther, but it's all good.
Do you know who it is, Craig?
All I've got is the emails, just like you guys, and I'm just excited about it.
You don't know who it is?
Are you gonna go?
Well, I'm not in a physical position to go. I need surgery on both my legs and arms at the moment, so I physically couldn't go.
Hey, if we don't see the 24-hour sun, would it debunk the globe?
Yeah, absolutely. If people go to this final experiment, which I think is about going to Antarctica and seeing 24-hour sun, if they go to the place where you should see the 24-hour sun and you don't, I'll change my channel to fight the globe Earth.
All right.
Okay, so you're not going to make. That's awesome. I'm glad that because most Glovers don't even say it. So if we go and we don't see the 24-hour sun,
This thing, Austin, base my position on evidence, and if the evidence suggests the Earth is flat, that'll be my position.
All right, bro. You think time slows down, bro? Chill out.
Okay. I like that we're invited to spend $15,000 too. That's nice. You're invited. Have you ever been invited to a party and they're like, by the way, bring $15,000 in case you want to come?
Have you never been to a location wedding? Jesus.
No, I wouldn't go. Frequencies illuminating. 2 FTFE. Can you explain how math is reality, but science doesn't prove anything? Austin, would you rather freely explore the North Pole or Antarctica? Go ahead first, FTFE.
I never say that math is reality. That's a strange claim. Math is quite capable of describing reality, but math is not reality. What was the next part of the question?
But science doesn't prove anything. And then I don't know if you have a question.
Yeah, okay, I think I answered that. Sorry,
okay.
Yeah, over to you, Austin.
And Austin, north or south? Where would you rather?
North.
Okay.
Why
not?
If
I had to pick one. Because I think that what would be at the north would be insane. I think it's the center of potentially a Taurus field. I think it's probably crazy.
I think you would see if you, just out of interest.
What?
If you went to the North Pole or you went wherever you think you could go in the north, what do you think you would see when you got there?
I don't know. I think the northern lights would get like much stronger, and then you would maybe see like a source of a vortex motion. I mean, obviously Antarctica would be cool too, but it would be like way, like realistically speaking, to try to fully explore Antarctica would be pretty insane. I'm sure the North Pole would as well. But anyway, my answer is if I had to pick, it would be the North Pole, which is monitored. So yeah.
All right, Monday, I guess we find out for who's going to be in charge of that. You don't know who it is, Craig. You're going on record as saying you don't know.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
And I maybe misread. Maybe I misread him. Maybe I don't know who it is either. So
I don't know either. Witsit, the James Webb Telescope is placed at a Lagrange point number 2. Please explain what Lagrange point is.
It's just your reified belief system based on Lagrange points are actually hilarious if you look into it. Admitted in your own academia, like your own paradigm, they don't know exactly what they are or where they are. Right? It's just based on like different versions of the math where basically the center area would be. It's admittedly not a solid thing in your own paradigm. People disagree on exactly where it is. But yeah, what they do is they actually move it over. They create the corrections and create coordinate system transforms, right? So the James Webb is going to be transformed over. So that's why I don't get why you guys think that sending something into outer space would prove it anyway. But it's all good.
Another one from Kango44. Witsit, using your understanding of kinematics, please explain how Lagrange points work. These points are locations in space where gravitational forces and the orbital motion of a body balance each other out.
It's a theory of what it is, and admittedly not even fully understood, and there are competing theories about it in your paradigm. I don't know why you guys always pretend like it's not that way, but there obviously is a relationship between things moving in space. I don't believe that they're sending things out into deep space like you believe anyway. But even if they were, right, it wouldn't matter, right? There's a kinematic and dynamic equivalence with the geocentric position. And if you actually look into the Lagrange points, like there are many corrections and transforms, and it's disagreed on exactly what the math yields. And they basically say close enough. It's close enough, and it should work. It's always a result of a transform. So.
Okay, we got FTFE.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, from El Grippo, 1-6, a bunch of numbers. He said, FTFE and McToon are the worst dishonest debaters. They are worse than atheists. Witsit is a living legend. Thank you, Jeranism, for everything you do. You are a living legend too. Viva la flat Earth. All right. Any comments?
I mean, worse than atheist. I mean, I guess I am an atheist, but
that's like a double whammy right there.
Isn't? I mean, like,
you're an atheist and worse than an atheist.
Apparently, that's awesome. Hey, Austin, sorry. If the thing happened at the South Pole and the 24-hour sun was seen, would that convince you the Earth was a globe?
Yeah, it would be a major problem for flat Earth for sure. I've said that on record 100 times.
Okay, no, I was just wondering. Do you think that is the position of the majority of flat earthers?
Yeah.
Jaren, do you agree that that is the position of the majority of flat earthers, that if the 24-hour sun was confirmed, that that's a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think I need to see it. That's why, the difference between somebody else, because, again, I even mentioned it to you. I'm not saying there's sun simulators out there, but there is such thing as a patent for a sun simulator. So I would need to see what we're talking about. It's the sun. Is it actually the sun going around, or are we getting behind clouds and all of a sudden there's a weird light over there? Again, that's why I want to be there. But yeah, if it is confirmed, then that's
that's such a crazy idea that I've never even thought about. Is like how China made the fake sun type thing.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Could they not do that?
We got to come up with it. We got to come up with a creative way to tell the difference. I mean, if the real sun's there, right? It would
You're
have to
tracking the real
transition over
sun,
to
and you would have to see one would go off in one direction, one would come back around this way. I don't think they do that, but that's why I don't want to be there. But yeah, I mean, otherwise it is a huge problem for flat Earth. I don't know how you would. Really
Dude, you may have blew a lid on a major deception though, like just in theory, right? Like they were planning on. I don't know.
Now they got to.
We'll see.
They got to do something.
I've heard like NASA former guy from NASA stationed there for 6 months said you never see the sun for 24 hours in 6 months of their summer. And so, and then obviously, you know what the Globers say? They just claim he doesn't exist and he's lying. And it's like, whatever. I mean, if we would get pretty lucky if that guy was there for 6 months and didn't see it, but we'll see.
And do you agree, though, Craig, we would not be able to see the 24-hour sun if all they're doing is taking a cruise to the little tip of the peninsula there?
Yeah, I think you need to go to maybe like
at least 66
at least 80 degrees. To see the 24-hour sun, I don't think 66 degrees is far enough.
I believe
south.
that is the marker, but
to go to around 80 to be able to see the 24-hour sun. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but just one of those little cruises to go around the peninsulas. I don't think that would specifically be enough.
Well, I think that's what they're thinking of doing, and that's going to be what's 15,000 to go inland is way more than that.
It's from the emails. I guess we'll find out more on Monday.
We'll find out more Monday. All right.
I'm
excited, that's what's so funny. You know what's so funny? Like your whole audience right now is saying, "Ha ha ha ha, fake sun simulator, ha ha ha, what idiots." You can literally just Google it and watch that China put up what they call like a fake sun simulation. Yeah. And you can watch the video of it, and it lit up like the whole sky, and all kinds of people went crazy and recorded it, and it was there for hours. Well, I just want to point out, like, isn't it weird that your audience acts like that? Like they act like that about everything. They're wrong about everything, but arrogant about everything. And
they believe that NASA's talking to the Explorer satellites 13 billion miles away. That's no problem. But a sun simulator, which we know exists, putting that up in the sky and making it go around us in a circle that's impossible. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, come on, Jaren.
It's crazy. Together, bro. But we can talk to those. We have rovers on Mars, for God's sakes, some 85 million miles. I mean, crazy. All right, we've got Chirang ND says, when you don't have evidence, you lie. Okay, Salad Man, where's your evidence for ether?
You can logically substantiate the ether because what's outside of the physical world, what's outside the material world, something or nothing. Nothing cannot exist. Also, inside of a vacuum chamber, we have the impedance of free space. So we have a dielectric, electric permittivity, magnetic permeability, and impedance of free space. And in the simplest way, and this is so funny because people can never answer this, waving is a type of motion. It's not actually a thing. It's not a noun. Like, oh, there's a wave. Like, no, it's the water moving, right? The water's waving. You can't have a wave. It isn't a thing. It's a verb. It's a type of motion, right? Like I can wave my hand. I can't hand you a wave. In all scenarios in reality. And so whenever we see inside of a vacuum chamber, we see these electromagnetic waving phenomena. What is waving, right? There has to be some type of medium there that's actually moving in a transverse way. But no, this is once again where their side just says, no, this is the one exception. Trust me, bro. So anyway, those are the evidences on their face. And you can get into all kinds of things, right? Like the actual empirical measurements of interferometry correlating to the periodicity of the sun and the moon and changing with altitude. And then actually the change in the quote unquote speed of light based on direction, which shows that just like how when you do it in water that's moving, there has to be some type of medium that's carrying what we're calling the light. But yeah, anyway, so how could you disprove it? You could show that there was no impedance in free space. You could create a vacuum that didn't have impedance. You could show that there wasn't an anisotropic signal propagation relative to direction of light. You could refute that already established evidence and show that it was a misunderstanding or something. So, all
right, Mr. E-Man says, give Witsit's assertion and claim that there is a firmament. Could Witsit please explain the real observations of the Tagungsta and events and how they can be explained on a flat Earth with a firmament?
This is like the magical rock that supposedly fell in Russia or something?
Yes.
Why can things not fall from the sky on a flat Earth? I mean, in all of human history, there's supposedly like one video of a rock falling from the sky. Why can't people shoot things out of the sky? But this is and like what Fight the Tight Shirt over here does a lot is like he tries to laugh a lot to act like everyone thinks that like what I'm saying stupid, but their belief is really, really stupid. They supposedly knew there was going to be meteorites before they were ever existed or discovered, and it was written about in science fiction books, and like the actual craters were written about in science fiction books. And then there's like, oh, there's no rock debris ever there. Just trust me, it all just disintegrated and all this stuff. So it looks a lot more like what we see with water kind of like caving in and imploding. So long story short, I don't see a problem with things falling from the sky, even if someone shot something. Also, because it's very rarely ever seen. So I don't know what's above us, bro. And even with the firmament, there could be stuff within that. I don't know why that's such a hiccup for people.
Hey, Witsit, you told me you came up with that Fight the Tight Shirt jibe, but Jaren came up with it.
I did not say that. Would you like to tell me when I said I came up with it?
In our first debate on the Tartaria Discord, you told me you came up with that.
No, mine is Fight the Fat Shirt. His is Fight the Tight Shirt.
No, that's what you called me.
No, I
corrected it. I changed his name. I changed his name a little bit, but I whatever.
So that artificial sun thing, there was no artificial sun launched into the sky. That video is just of a rocket launch. The artificial sun
is there such thing as an artificial sun
of a nuclear fusion reactor? Wow.
Is there an artificial sun? You looked it up. There's a picture of it and everything.
Yeah. The artificial sun they're talking about is just a nuclear fusion reactor, which is actually under a bunch of water. The video of the sun being launched into space is just a video of a rocket launch that's got a bunch of glare on it. There's no sun being launched into space.
I thought it was there for like hours.
No.
Do you still believe in fact checks, Craig? I mean, I don't know about this. I'm just saying that's a total.
No, I've just got a bunch of videos of the actual launch and stuff. And
I'm asking you just a general question. Do you still believe that fact checks that pop up as the first result are reliable sources of information?
No, I don't believe anything that I read online. I will always double, triple, quadruple, quintuple check anything that I find as information. I was chucked out of Sunday school because I asked far too many questions.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I thought I saw a video of it and supposedly it said something about hours, but if it doesn't exist, I don't know.
But there's you just look up sun simulator. There's all kinds of stuff. A solar simulator, also called an artificial sun or sunlight simulator, is a light source that has a similar spectral distribution. It provides illumination and approximate natural sunlight. I've seen it before. It's a big thing with a bunch of hexagonal lights on it. I've seen pictures.
You've actually seen it.
Yes, but I've not seen it launched. But they've got it right here. Here it is.
To tell though, because if they were to transition between the real sun and a fake sun, that's surely something that's going to be noticeable, especially if it's
yes.
Clear
I said
sky.
that.
We said that.
Yeah.
But I would just want to
be
there.
And someone in your chat said, see, they're already making excuses not accepted. And we didn't do that. We said you would probably be able to tell if you watched it close enough. That's what we actually said.
Yeah.
In my chat.
Anyway, you can look at it.
Yeah, I pulled your chat up earlier because I find it, like when you go to like a zoo or something, like, like if you see an animal in the wild and it's like, whoa, bro, that's kind of crazy how they live. I kind of view it like that. Like sometimes I just it's like looking at animals in the wild or something,
It's in the chat. If you gift memberships now, I make him a member.
Okay.
I didn't actually type in the chat. Okay, anyway, let's move on.
Saying gravity is real is like saying senzu beans in Dragon Ball Z anime are real. Both are true, but both don't exist in reality. What's matter? Guess that's for you.
Well, no Dragon Ball Z anything is real. So no, that's not an analogy that works under any thought process. Gravity is an empirically verified, measured, used in industry, everyday thing. Dragon Ball Z is a pretty fucking awesome anime. They're not the same.
Okay. If the Earth is not a globe, this is from JDT Turbo. If the Earth is not a globe, which distance of landmass or between landmasses does the globe model have wrong?
South is grossly wrong and probably explains the meridian corrections that none of you guys even know exist and would just say don't exist, provably, and have been documented and do exist. And so, yeah, we use GPS. And I think one of the most honest things Jaren got out of McToon, right, was like, hey, if the Earth was flat, could you just map it out like it was a globe anyway? And he said, yeah, of course you can do that. So I did it. I don't know why. I would say the South is probably grossly wrong, but it's all constantly making corrections. Yeah, a university actually went and looked at the raw GPS data and they saw, oh, it wasn't raw. They had already made multiple layers of corrections to what they were calling the raw data, including the SANET corrections based on the anisotropic signals, the difference in duration of the signal, and meridian corrections are also built in. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. So long story short, if you were in the South and you were getting GPS signals, you could easily just have it subtract and like correct based on the globe coordinate system. So, yeah, I would say obviously everyone knows the South would be way different, right? So.
Okay, Witsit, is the color, this is from Kango again. Thank you, Kango44. Witsit, is the color blue faster than the color red? Does sound look solid from a tangential angle? Is height more expensive than width? This is how your questions to Craig sound, by the way. Huh?
Oh no. Okay, that's a cool story, but if you guys still have to believe in Craig's misrepresentation of relativity, it is pathetic. I'm like respectfully to whoever, like it's pathetic. I'm still manning relativity. I'm still manning the globe model. They considered it a refutation of Newtonian orbit, Newtonian gravity. Einstein came in. You can't just throw out the ether. Einstein said that the ether still exists, but it just has to be something different, and that its story is continued. By no means is it finished, and relativity continues it. Blah blah blah. I encourage people to not just believe people that like get caught up in moments and debates, and so they can't admit that they're wrong, and they say stuff like, I don't understand relativity at all, and I don't know why you're wrong, but I promise that you are wrong, and I know for a fact that you are wrong, and stuff like that, right? So my questions were pretty simple if you knew the context, certainly with previous conversations, but whatever.
What experiment falsifies gravity? I guess that's for you, Witsit.
Is it?
I don't know. Maybe that's for Craig. I don't know.
Gravity needs to gravity as space-time needs to be empirically verified before it can be falsified, right?
Okay. LJ, how do you know it's really space from the videos? I think that's for you, Craig.
How do you know it's really space from the videos? What videos? What do they mean?
Like NASA videos, I guess.
So they're saying, how do I know they're not fake? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's trusting, right? They're saying, are we just to trust the space agencies? And the answer is
when you compare all of the videos from all of the space agencies, along with amateur footage, amateur rocket launches and stuff, it all matches up. I have not been there myself and seen space. I have to rely on the evidence that is presented for me. So yes, I guess I do believe that what we are shown in the videos from NASA, from SpaceX, from amateurs, from Roscosmos, from every space agency, yes, I do believe what they show me is true because it all matches up. But do I personally have a way to verify it? No, because I have not been to space. Have I been involved in projects like weather balloons and stuff that have seen things in space? Yes. But, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been to space to test it myself.
And if you follow the evidence, have you seen where I show that in the moon landing footage when they're in the little go-kart that the background never changes? You can take from the beginning of them driving till the end and you can match up perfectly all background features. They don't change in height, size, they don't get closer, nothing.
I'm gonna step away and pee real quick. I'm sorry. Okay. I'll be right back in like a couple minutes.
Go ahead, we'll skip any for you. You say you follow evidence, but that's pretty good evidence. I mean, if somebody showed me that you can't.
There's reasons for seeing. When on the moon, there's no atmosphere to get in the way, so you can actually see a lot further. So the parallax is a lot less from what you would see, say, on Earth, because it just allows you to kind of see clearer further into the distance. What's interesting about the moon buggies when they're going around is the perfect parabolic arc the dust takes from the back of the wheels when it comes up and it all flows out, and you could map every single particle in a perfect parabolic arc, showing that there's no disturbance from any kind of atmosphere or anything.
You're talking about the one scene that they call the Grand Prix, where the thing's driving around.
There's a bunch of scenes that have been analyzed like that. But
how's there a bunch of scenes? Who's filming the cart driving around?
And I just think that is, for me, that's a personal slam dunk. But there's a lot of discussions I'd like to have around it.
All right. Where are we at here? What? Oops. And when will Witsit be? Oh, we'll come back to that one. Mr. E-Man. We'll come back. We've got FTFE is against genocide in Gaza, right, Craig?
I'm against genocide of any kind.
Good. Okay. LJ, is there even a 1% chance Earth is not a spinning? That's also for you.
Is there a 1% chance? I mean, it's an ill-formed question. Am I right? To be intellectually honest, I don't think anyone could ever say that they're 100% certain, definitely, with no doubts ever about anything, right? Do I think all the evidence points towards a certain thing? Yes, and that is the position that I hold. Is there any possibility that I could be wrong? Well, I don't know. I would like to see the evidence that would suggest that I'm wrong. But with the evidence that is suggested right now, my position holds that the Earth is a rotating ball. If the evidence would suggest otherwise, then yes, I would say there was a chance. But I don't personally think I've seen the evidence.
Okay, so there's a 1% chance, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a hard question to answer, really.
Okay. When will Witsit be debating MC Toon regarding celestial navigation as he promised? Says Mr. E-Man.
This is another thing that they like to lie about, and I'm going to explain it right now, and then they're going to all continue to say it anyway. So Shane had come up with a different explanation of, like, say, even the 1 degree per 69 mile relationship that is claimed for celestial navigation, even though in real life application it really doesn't come into play. And he said, do you think Mattoon would debate me about it? I would think that would be funny, see if he would debate me and talk to me about it. And I said, I don't know. But I guess, you know, I think he would, right? Because he tries to act like that's his big home run, even though really he's just thinking on the globe map because he knows that we can't really explore, and it's a deceptive trick that he's playing. So then he was in a chat in a debate after show, and so I asked him, I said, would you be willing to debate it? And of course, sure, I didn't say, would you be willing to debate Shane? But that's what I said. And then I explained it to him multiple times since then. He knows that, but he's just super thirsty for clout and clicks off my name. So he claims that I challenged him to a debate, then ran away. So that's not what happened. I don't debate McToon out of principle because he's agreed with people that my children should be taken away. And FTFE actually said similar things. I'm here as a kind of like a favor to Jaren. So out of principle, I don't really talk to people that tell people that they should have their children taken away, and that telling them about, you know, alternative cosmology is child abuse and all this crazy stuff. So that's why I don't debate McToon. I've debated him probably a dozen times. To claim I'm running from him is really weird. And so, yeah, there you go. That's the actual truth. I was asking on behalf of Shane because coincidentally, like an hour after Shane asked me if I thought McToon would debate him, McToon was in the chat trying to talk to me. So I just asked him for Shane. So that's literally what happened. Take it or leave it.
Hey, Craig.
Austin, if I've implied that you're a bad dad, or if I've ever said anything that relates to your children, I sincerely apologize, and it was wrong for me to do. Okay, if you know that it was never my intention to attack you as a father, and if that was what I did, then I sincerely apologize, and it was the wrong thing to do. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Craig, if you had a chance to prove, Craig, you had a chance to prove your fallacious pendulum trick during the eclipse. I wonder why. Very telling to your fake subscribers. You know what he's talking about?
I didn't really have a chance to prove my pendulum thing during the eclipse because I'm not in a position right now to set up a pendulum experiment. However, I believe he's referring to the alias effect, which my research has suggested has never been repeated apart from Alias's original experiment. And got the same results. So
it would be dismissed completely, wouldn't it be?
Do we know when the next eclipse is? Maybe I'll try and set one up during that. But I mean, I would probably have to be in America to do that because that's where most of the paths are, right?
I don't think there's another path in America till 2040 something. Q for Craig. If the Earth is a ball, why are you in Egypt then? Okay, sorry.
Bunch of bangs to the head. I was a rugby player, a mountain biker. I've had many bashes to the head. I'm 6'1" and I was a submariner. I hit my head all the time. That explains everything.
Okay. We've got thcshow.live. Thank you very much for that. $10. And check him out. You can use coupon code Jaren420, 10% off.
Come on here and talk to me with Jaren. It's all right. I'll be nice.
Okay. Real says, thanks for your efforts, Jaren. Witsit, why do you habitually gaslight the audience following your opponent's response? You don't even understand your own model and systematically strawman.
First of all, it's not gaslighting. he literally is exhibiting a lack of comprehension of his own model. If you say anything about the way that things move, if you say parallax, retrograde, aberration, we sent things into the solar system, and you claim that proves the Earth is spinning and orbiting the sun, it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of your own position. That's just a fact. Einstein said everything's going to occur on the Earth as if the Earth is in a state of rest, whether it was the Earth in the center or not. Kinematically, there is an equivalence, meaning all motion, observations of motion mapped out, is equally valid in either sides. The fact that people deny that means either A, they don't understand it, or B, they're being dishonest. I'm actually giving him the benefit of the doubt by saying that he doesn't understand it instead of just calling him blatantly a liar. So, yeah, that's all there is to it. And there's obviously a history here, and I don't like when people misrepresent things. Like that I debated him 11 times and got destroyed after whatever. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, I don't straw man. I actually wear glasses and still man. And I think I do a very good job of still manning, and almost never you guys point out that I actually straw man it. You'll just chant that I do. So yeah, anyway, it's funny when I talk to PhD astronomers, astrophysics, and physicists, and I tell them my understanding of relativity and how it applies to Michelson-Morley, they all agree once we look through the paper together. But when it comes to anti-flat earthers and anonymous people on internet chats, apparently I'm stupid and don't know what I'm talking about. So I guess that would be why.
And what was the year of Michelson-Morley?
1887.
So I guess I'm confused. Airy's failure proved that there was no ether, and then they still did the Michelson-Morley and again proved that there's no ether? That's basically just all trying to prove the ether, or that's what you're saying, Craig, that Airy's failure is about the failure to prove ether?
Yeah, that's why it's called Airy's failure, because it was a failure to detect the ether.
That's just not true.
With a telescope and water? How is that going to
read up on that? Why it's called Airy's failure. That's why they call it Airy's failure.
No, if you read Wikipedia, that's what. If you read the actual papers, and then you read what Michelson said about it, and then you read what Edward Morley said about it, and you read what Arthur Eddington said about it, then you would read what Einstein said about it, then you would never say that.
Can you say what Michelson said? What do you know it offhand? The Michelson quote right at the beginning of his paper.
Yeah, well, Michelson said something to the effect that it's actually in like the subnotes of the paper, and he's saying that based on what Airy showed, right, we're going to have to explain what's going on when it comes to the orbit so we can better interpret the ether, because we're not detecting the motion of the Earth. That's why it's called a failure, is because it had telescope with water in it. The stars are coming into the telescope, but since the water is going to slow it down, then as the Earth moves, once it gets into the medium to slow down and the Earth is moving, it should deviate off of its path a certain amount. I think it was like 15 arc seconds or something. It didn't show that. And they couldn't come up with an explanation. And so it was a failure to detect the Earth's motion, the actual deviation. And there was a slight one detected, by the way, and no one ever has explained it. No one's ever explained why there was a little bit of a deviation. No one's ever explained it. Because if you're actually in the reference frame where you can see the Earth moving, right, then what's going on, you shouldn't detect any of it, or you should detect all of it. But anyway, yeah, long story short, I mean, they were trying to find a way to detect the motion of the Earth in relation to an ether. That's just the facts. Although I do like your question. I won't rant, but that's pretty funny, right? It's like, I thought they just proved the ether with Airy's failure. So they were still believing in it all the way into 1887 and tested it again. And then that's when it disproved the ether. But whatever.
I didn't know. I never heard that about Airy's failure. Yeah. Mr. E-Man says, can Witsit please demonstrate how the perihelion orbit of Mercury based on flat Earth, where the orbit of Mercury is around the sun?
Based on flat Earth, where the orbit of Mercury is around the sun. Okay, first of all, it doesn't have to be around the sun, right? Everything in the sky is moving in a cycle in relation to the Earth in the center. And even retrograde could just be that they slow down. So they could actually change speeds within, like, say, a vortex, a torus field, even ellipses. And we measured them in relation to the background stars. So if they were to change their speed, then it would actually look different, like it was even going backwards. That's actually what the heliocentric model's claim is, right? Is that because these interior planets move in relation to the sun and in relation to the background stars and us, it looks like they're going backwards, but they're really not. Or it could, in theory, be everything's moving in relation to the sun as that all moves around us, right? I don't even see why it would be you're asking about the perihelion shift. It's not fully explained in the heliocentric model, so Newton was pretty far off, and then it was discovered 40 years before Einstein. People say, like, this proved relativity. It was a prediction of relativity. It was observed 40 years before relativity. He tried to work it out and make it work, but he couldn't quite do it. And so then they have all these different like Kerr metrics and these different things. They try imaginary planet that has a mass that's changing it. With the flat Earth, we don't have to believe in fairy tales like relativity, and so it could just be magnetic. And so there's actually a different magnetic field strength. So if you have a model that's not limited to proportionate mass, it's far superior to explain anomalies like Mercury's orbit. Well, it's just like a stronger or weaker magnetic field. It's not simply based on visible mass and their calculations. So it would be actually way more explainable on a stationary Earth that's not confined to relativity.
Okay, Michael Ledbetter. Craig's been Mandela affected. Is that true, Craig?
Well, I guess they turned on the Large Hadron Collider again. I don't know. I'm convinced that my cutlery drawer was arranged the other way around last week, but now
Probably.
Who knows?
All right, Charang ND says, you keep asking question after question, trying to poke holes while not providing any model or theory of your pizza world for Craig to ask any questions to you. Why are you such a clown, Witsit? It's lovely.
Yeah, you didn't call me Witsit, but it's all good.
Oh, sorry.
So no, I would have we would have breezed past the motion thing, but he's still misrepresenting it all these years later. So then the whole conversation turned into that. And this is why I don't do the debates anymore. Because I found out that since there's no academic reputation, there's no real consequences of lying or misleading the audience, and like the people that will watch them will always fall for the lies or act like they don't know about the lies. So it's all good. Like I was just pointing out, no, you're misrepresenting this to people. Whether like I don't care what they believe, I want them to know what they believe accurately. And you ask like why I'm not providing a model of a pizza world. Which,
That's a straw man.
Yeah, it's just a straw man, ironically, but like I pointed that out at the beginning, right? That the default position is that the Earth's a stationary plane. Just like when we fly planes, we treat the Earth like it's flat and stationary. Okay, that's why we do that, because it's the default position. And then your model claims, oh, well, it's actually the opposite. It's just so big you can't tell. And we're pointing out that the evidence doesn't actually suggest that. We've already substantiated our burden of proof on its face as the empirically default position. And that's why they decide to say that it's not the default position. And that's why they help make more flat earthers by the day, because an honest person would admit, of course, well, sure, it's the default position. That's what we observe. But whatever. So anyway, that's why, is because he was misrepresenting it. So I was trying to point out to the room so they can understand the logic. And then he started contradicting himself. And some people caught it, some people didn't. Whatever.
What's the answer,
Is there
Craig?
expectation to say that that's the default position? Because that's just the thing flat earthers say, which isn't true.
We're saying, does
okay.
the Earth seem like it's moving? Does it seem like it's a ball in space? No.
From
right?
my observation, yeah.
Oh, you're missing the point of what a default position means. Not once you've been taught it and once you've been told it and once you think you have the evidence for it. We're talking about, bar none, from the beginning, we all think that the Earth looks flat. We all think that the Earth doesn't move. That's just the default position. Now, if you're going to tell us something different, then provide the evidence for it, and then we will switch to the new evidence. Witsit, answer Craig's question, please, for the 7th time. I don't know which question that was.
I answered all of Craig's. Oh, no, that's what's so funny is like,
is it the kinematic one?
If anyone's acting like that was like some gotcha slam dunk by Craig saying, show me the kinematic equivalence, it's really, really pathetic. I just explained, look up an ECF coordinate system. The way we map out the planets from the Earth is a geocentric kinematic coordinate system. The kinematic equivalence is basic stuff. What do you mean show it to you? As in, you want me to show you Kepler's law with the Earth in the center? I wasn't about to play into that trick to go pull it up and show you Kepler's laws with the kinematic equivalence of geocentrism, because if you don't understand that, then you don't even understand the basics. No physicist or astronomer, astrophysicist would ever deny that. And they would actually be appalled that such a large group of people do stuff like that, defending the model, right? Like you can just go watch my geocentrism presentation.
Or watch the movie The Principle. I think it's like required viewing for this topic, and it seems like a lot of people haven't watched it. It gives a lot of information.
Also, heliosorcery is a good follow-up to that, so you can get the other side of the scoop too.
Have you seen it, Craig?
Oh yeah, the principle breaks it down pretty good.
Have you watched it, Craig? You're laughing. Have you seen the movie? I'll send it to you if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
You actually watched it?
Everything that you guys have seen, I've seen.
Oh, I think you just believe like hit pieces, and it's like, oh, but the people in there didn't believe the Earth was in the center. They lied to him. Oh, Sangenis is discredited because he's whatever.
But that's not how it works.
Okay, Craig. Please.
Is a kinematic is a geocentric model kinematically equivalent in validity to your heliocentric belief?
If you were looking purely at kinematics, yeah.
Okay, so it was a tactic to derail, so we can move on.
Craig, please steelman Michelson-Morley's hypothesis in 1887. Before they did their experiment, why did they use interferometry?
Because they thought they would be able to detect the difference in the speed of light coming in from one direction to another, depending on the position of Earth in its orbit around the sun. So they had it facing one way at one part of the experiment and another way at another part of the experiment. That would mean that the light coming in would have a fringe shift because it's coming through the ether and would show the fringe shift in the interferometry. So it was, the hypothesis was that the Earth moving through the ether would create a path for the light to come through that would be detectable with the interferometry. And they didn't detect the fringe shifts that they expected with the movement of Earth against the aether, because there was no aether for the Earth to move against.
Ah, painful.
Okay, Leo Crow says, question for both. If a Michelson-Morley experiment was performed on a high-speed bullet train or on something faster, what would the results be? Has this ever been done?
So it's actually very interesting. So if you look at Wang's linear interferometer, it would be interesting to use it in specific scenarios and see if it could do that very thing. That seems like what it would be set up to do. So to make the linear interferometer that Wang did, of course, the fact that, and then maybe you would, yeah, I know it hasn't been done using a linear interferometer like that. But what's interesting is that completely destroys relativity, because you're not supposed to detect the linear motion at all. It also destroys the claim that the Earth is moving, because the whole excuse that we don't detect it in Michelson-Morley is that it's free falling in a linear path, like the Earth is free falling in a straight path, and it's only curving from a different reference frame because it's going through the geodesic path of the bending and warping of space-time curvature, right? So if you can detect linear motion with interferometry, that's like a major problem. And then to even try to explain it mathematically within relativity, you have to invoke absolute space and then change a made-up fictional coordinate system that doesn't actually exist and stuff. And yeah, it's actually a major problem for what like Mattoon would say, and then FTFE would repeat, like, oh, it's just relative motion, right? But they don't know what they're talking about. Go read the actual papers. You have to invoke absolute space to explain it. So the answer to your question is that I don't think it has been done. I think it's very interesting, and you could use what Wang used in his linear interferometer to do so in theory.
Okay, November said, oh, sorry, go ahead. I forgot. He said
I don't think it would be possible to have equipment sensitive enough to detect the difference between the Earth moving versus the Earth moving and the bullet train moving. The difference in those velocities would be so small that it would be less than the margin of error of any equipment that they would use to test that. So I don't think, even if the equipment was capable of picking up that kind of movement, that they would be able to detect the difference between the Earth moving and the Earth and the bullet train moving. It just wouldn't be sensitive enough. I
don't think that's what he's asking. He's asking if you can detect linear motion. And he's basically saying, like, if you were able to detect the linear motion of the orbit, then you'd be able to detect linear motion somewhere else. And if he's not asking that, then it's not a good question. If he's asking it, it is a somewhat informed good question. And the answer would be, yeah, in theory, you would be able to do so with a linear interferometer like Wang. And also Toyota and other places actually have patents for this very thing. So we may see it in technology pretty soon. And yeah, if you detected linear motion with an interferometer, that's a major problem for relativity and the claim the Earth moves around the sun.
If Craig came off as intelligent person debater to you before, Austin just made it undeniably clear that Craig's a total fraud, a scummy, lying grabbler. FTFE fans, get out while you still can. You're lost. All right. November, thank you very much. $10.
No worries. I like that.
Say again?
I'm a graveler. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll take that.
You lay gravel. I don't know. JSST Tiger says, to Austin, if 24-hour daylight happens in Antarctica on the December solstice, will it also happen at the Tropic of Capricorn?
Good question.
No.
I would think there's a pretty good distance of the light. If there's 24-hour daylight, then there has to be some type of effect happening within containment, which has been demonstrated, obviously. And so I would imagine it would even extend out a bit. I just want to point out for everyone that knows what the real fast, like, dude, Airy's failure literally destroys the whole entire heliocentric model. Literally, because the starlight comes into the water Okay. And then it slows down. It's going to propagate relative to water. And if the Earth was moving, it would deviate a certain amount. And for it not to, then a particle of light theory would require the light actually go speed up in the water. It would have to enter the water and speed up to be able to get all the way through the telescope without deviating from its path. Right? It would have to speed up. And it didn't. So it's funny. And then the fact you see it at all is a major, major problem. You shouldn't see it at all if you reference frame it away. So I just want to throw that back out there. I saw someone say something about it. I don't think they don't understand how important it is, because they just hear people like him say it just disproved the ether, and they just say it over and over and over with a lot of conviction, and they like religiously chant it, and people believe it. And I just want to you guys should research it more and read the actual papers and stuff.
I encourage everyone to research Airy's failure and how it disproved the ether, which is why it's called Airy's failure.
Okay.
I would bet 5K he's never read the paper. And there's no way to prove that bet, though.
Because I've got it as a PDF, but
you've never read it.
Of course, yeah. You know that. You know I've never.
What was the predicted value? I even said it in this debate.
I don't know off the top of my head.
What were they supposed to be detecting?
I don't know off the top of my head. I have to go back through it.
What was the problem with what they got?
A fringe shift in the light. It was supposed to be detecting a difference in the light coming in because of the light traveling through an ether, which it didn't detect.
What was the methodology that they used to do that?
Okay. Do you want to debate about this?
No, I'm just pointing out. I know you've never read it. It's no big deal, but we can move on. You've read Wikipedia. I get it. It's fine.
So I looked up kinematic equivalence. No surprise, Witsit lied about knowing what it is, like everything else he says.
And like I said, dude, FTFE admitted it. It's very simple.
What?
The Austin's episode of Flirts Are Idiots is going to be incredible. Now that I'm back to producing videos.
Wow, yeah, you're gonna have the same 100 people with 900 bots that watch it. But you know what's so funny, bro? Is like, dude, this is such a basic part of it, right, Jared? Like, again, watch the principle. Just go read Einstein. I've dropped it. I've shown the quotes. They say it's cherry picking. I'm like, dude, what that shows is that your belief system's so fragile, you can't accept it for what it really is, right? Like Einstein said, the Earth moving around the sun and the sun moving around the Earth is equally valid. It's the dispute back in the day would have been meaningless. It's just a coordinate system preference. There's a kinematic equivalence. And at first he was trying to find a way to exclude a kinematic equivalence. And then when he got the GR, he's like, oh, well, we still need one. So anyway, yeah, kinematic equivalence is very simple. It's the way that bodies move in relation to each other, observational paths in the context of this conversation. And there's a kinematic equivalence. And even Greg just admitted it.
Okay, we've got Ozian Talk says, go Navy. Austin. Oops, I lost my page here. What happened? 1 second, I lost it. There it is. Go Navy.
We're going to start doing these fast.
Oh, yeah, I know. I think there's a lot of them. Austin, if electromagnetism causes tides and water is diamagnetic, wouldn't the mass of the oceans move those massless luminaries specific? What?
There's a whole bunch of straw men in there, and I don't know what is this. The word of specific makes an incoherent question. Make it specific. What? Like, and who said they were massless? Who said they were not massless? I didn't claim what they were. Who said that that's what caused the tides? I didn't say that either. I mean, looks like the Earth has a pretty complex filtration system.
Austin, explain the Coulomb's experiment, independent variable, and how you made sure it was isolated for the mass and verified the electrical force.
Yeah, because we control the variable of, say, like that we know that make things go up and down, like density. Right? It doesn't really matter what the mass is. The fact is that it went down, and you can change the vector of a variable that's already there, not introducing an additional variable, which you guys all say. You're just manipulating the variable that is there, right? And you flip the electric field. I think it's like 200. I don't remember exactly how much. I'm not going to say the wrong number of what the Van de Graaff generator goes to, but it's like well known. Whatever that one was, I borrowed it from Zach. And you guys will just say, nah. And then what most of them say is all you could do was make like a little piece of styrofoam float or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, I guess if you had basic understanding of physics, you would know that it scales up, right? So whatever.
Not everything scales in physics.
Can you name something in physics that doesn't scale up?
Yeah, not every, gravity doesn't scale up linearly. Neither does electric force. Nothing in physics says everything has to scale exactly. That's not how it works.
When did I say linearly?
It doesn't scale in like when you say it should scale. What? So you think that you could just get a bigger force and lift a bigger thing compared to the that's not how it works. You would need exponentially more force to lift more mass. It wouldn't just scale, it would go off the chart.
No, it's if you had more force, you could lift something bigger. And by the way, gravity does scale, of course, in your belief system. I don't know what in the world you're talking about. This is the stuff they have to do. This is the stuff they have to do, right? Because the test shows what it does, just objectively shows you can change the vector of the object. So they have to say, oh, but it would. Well, why don't we have flying cars then? You know, and it's like, all right, bro, like we're done here. This is stupid.
Craig's like a bag of gay hamsters, pretty useless. Thank you very much, Mike, for that. We've got
Craig is like a bag of gay hamsters. Was that?
yes,
Hammers or
Oh,
hamsters?
hammers? My bad. Hammers. I'm bad, right? Hammers, gay hammers. I thought it was
What
hamsters.
the hell is a bag of gay hammers?
I like hamsters better. Hamsters are equally useless, though.
I mean, and I don't know what it is.
Well, hammers are pretty useful.
Yeah, hammers are, not
Yeah.
hamsters.
I don't know how a hammer would be gay, but so many flat earthers seem to call me gay. It's almost
Here
like
comes
they
the
want
virtue.
gay. I don't understand.
It's almost like what?
I could go around calling flat earthers gay, but all flat earthers go around calling me gay. It's guys, I'm happily married to a woman. All right, I'm not into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Boring.
I will go to Antarctica if I get donations, and I would become a flat earther if there's no 24-hour sunlight. Well, be careful. The 24-hour sunlight can work in the model. It's a 24-hour sun, just so you know.
Yeah. Why do they all do that too? Why do they all intentionally keep conflating the two though when they know that? But
Yeah,
because they know
shown-
there does seem to be a lot of light there, and so that they want to keep their system safe. I will say one thing I can give props to FTFE out of all this is he did straight up admit it, which most of them won't answer that question. If you end a question with "Would it falsify the globe?" they freak out, dude. It's like it's like you're torturing them or something.
So obviously we know the predictions of what you would expect for a globe if you went to Antarctica, right? What if the Earth was flat? What would you guys expect to see sun-wise at say 80 degrees?
I'd expect.
I
to
think
see
I
the
would
sun
expect to see
coming.
the sun in the sky for a bit, and then you would see it begin to set, but you may get like light the whole time because of its proximity to the outer containment.
But do you think you would be able to see the actual sun the whole time, or would the sun go out of your view?
You would
I
not.
don't
be able
think
to
you would
the
see
sun.
the actual sun for 24 hours. No.
Mm-mm.
Right. Okay. Right. I just want to make sure that I don't steal man your guys' thoughts about what would happen. So thank you for answering.
man,
that.
Okay, we've got both. Do you know what a paradigm is? Is it possible that both of you are not lying? Yeah.
No, yeah, he truly believes the Earth's a globe. I truly do not believe the story that the Earth's a tilted, wobbling, spinning globe flying through space. That's not where the line comes in, right? It's the misrepresentations and mischaracterizations of the conversations that we have, or what relativity actually says, or what the evidence actually says, and stuff like that. Once pointed out to you, if you intentionally continue to omit it and stuff, then that would be where that comes into play. I don't think either one of us are lying about what we think.
All right, we got Run Boston Bear says, I'm sorry I missed the debate. I am enjoying family time. Much love to everyone, even those that haven't woken up to the true Earth yet. True Earth. Thank you, JT. We've got Lovebot says, Witsit, favorite salad dressings?
I'm thinking about making one.
Oh, that's a good seller. Yeah,
Yeah, bro. All natural.
Word salad
organic,
dressing.
Yeah, bro.
That's great.
I don't know. I wouldn't know the name of it.
Mixed with flurf
kinda
tears.
spicy.
Put that in there. Mixed with flurf tears would be good.
What's its word salad dressing, bro? It's gonna go off the shelves. Bro. Get ready.
Goodbye, David's hot sauce. All right, Witsit, you claim you know the basics about relativity, yet every expert and PhD on relativity disagrees with you. An ego worth a religious zealot.
That literally isn't true.
Yeah, I don't know
What you just said is a lie. I actually had a PhD named Robert Bennett who wrote his thesis in the motion of rigid bodies and relativity, worked with people that worked directly with Einstein, studied it for like 4 straight decades. That was like his primary focus. I've talked to many people, including Professor Parks, PhD astronomer. When you actually talk to the experts you guys appeal to, they admit the stuff that I say about relativity without even hesitating. Like they admit the kinematic equivalence without even hesitating. Whenever I showed him the relational mechanics, the PhD astronomer, he's like, yeah, of course. Bennett actually knows that the Earth isn't moving through space. So what you're saying is true and not true, right? They all disagree with you. That's not true. I'm sure some people just claim that relativity is still legit, but almost everyone worth their salt in 2024 knows relativity has been debunked and has to be replaced. So
Robot Polisher in the house.
No one thinks
Craig,
that
keep
inside.
the FTFE and go with forgive the flat Earth. Will you do that?
Well, forgive the flat. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. If the Earth's flat and I'm wrong, I will change my channel to forgive the flat Earth.
All right, I like it. Mr. E-Man again, please explain how meteorites fall out of the sky with measured energy that they have. What's it? Didn't you say this already?
With measured energy that they have. Okay, I just addressed. First of all, I very simply addressed this already, right? But there's like one video of a supposed rock falling from the sky. Meteorites is what you're talking about. Like when it comes to meteor showers, well, like most of the primary radiant sources of sporadic meteors come from like the same 6 places. They look like electrical discharges. They're cyclical. Makes much more sense in my understanding that they're cyclical. And then you guys claim that the craters are from meteors, right? But again, it was predicted in a sci-fi book before ever even allegedly discovered. All the rock debris is conveniently always gone. There is no evidence. It's just a trust me, bro situation. So I don't believe it. It's not much more complicated than that.
Austin explained to FTFE that orbits aren't globe exclusive. He still doesn't get it, and his claimed orbits are globe proofsies in his conclusion.
Yeah, okay. So them mapped out on a plane would just be ellipses. And so you can obviously just do the projection coordinate system transform for the paths themselves. And ironically, like say you take the satellite equations, they use ECF and they actually account for real inertial forces of a rotating universe, right? They use centrifugal forces, Coriolis forces, Euler forces. And in your paradigm, you can use it that way, but it's actually just they're fictitious or pseudo forces. And we just use Newtonian gravity typically on the ECF because it's good enough and then it'll still work, right? But the problem is that it has a dynamic issue there, right? It actually leans towards the credence of the dynamics of a stationary model, which would be a real inertial forces. But long story short, even if you do a satellite up in the air and it just started moving around, and the ellipses on the plane, it wouldn't be proof of the spinning globe at all. It would actually be evidence against it because it uses real inertial forces of a rotating universe. So, yeah. So, and I mean, I don't want to get everyone just says this is word salad, but I mean, you should look into it. But you have the centrifugal force and you have the Coriolis force, which is going to be an inward force. The magnitude of the Coriolis force is twice the magnitude, so you have a net centripetal force, so like a radially inward force. That would effectively keep it going. And that's why the PhD astronomer Gerardus Bow, or whatever his name is, he says, like the physics we've shown like 6 times this century alone, physics and equations that NASA uses to launch satellites, support a geocentric Earth. And if they're proof of anything, it's geocentricity and a refutation of heliocentrism.
What this means, I don't know. I look at the sun with my eclipse glasses daily. I'm farsighted, need readers for up close. If I look at the sun without my readers on, it's blurry. If I look with my readers, it's perfectly in focus. Weird. Okay, that's peculiar. Witsit, how do you falsify the ether? How did you falsify the ether? Medicinal mass media.
I didn't.
Okay, that's an easy one.
I was asking how, and I answered that earlier.
Okay, we've got Moist Potato. How was able to watch the smoke from the Australian fires travel to New Zealand in detail every 10 minutes on the Himawari 8 if satellites are fake?
They have high altitude images.
Yeah. And we've showed that before, and they shouldn't take 25 minutes or 35 minutes to get the pictures out. It's kind of a long
We
time
have
for one
high
picture.
altitude images. You guys are just transposing it onto your presupposed globe with the blue marble base, which is like admitted. And you guys say, well, you have to do that, except for in 72, we took full pictures, but you have to not take full pictures and stitch it together. Stupid flurf.
And we said, look it up. There's 2,000 balloons launched every day from 2 balloons from 1,000 locations, or 1,000 locations twice a day launch a balloon that's directly what they use for weather, for clouds. So all that stuff can be simulated too. You can have, if you know where a cloud's at now, you can simulate where it'll be in 30 minutes pretty easily. You don't need a supercomputer to do it either. How is FTFE still alive after the last debate? From Space Audits. It's funny.
Which was the last one? The last one with Witsit, or the last one?
Yeah, the actual last one with me, not the fictitious fairy tale ones you claimed happened after that.
The overdose of medicine.
On my channel, but yeah, just so everyone's aware, I'm undergoing a bunch of surgery, and they put me on some new painkillers, which I had an extremely bad reaction to, which made me have a bunch of heart palpitations, what felt like a heart attack.
I don't think it's funny. I want you to know I'm not making fun of you for that. I hope the best for you. I think that we are going to disagree on what's causing it, but I genuinely...
I say the same thing. I told him to get out on the ground, get on the ground and take your shoes off, get on the grass and connect with the earth. I told him.
Try maybe some detoxes,
I honestly, I don't have much to detox because I don't put a bunch of crap in my body. Weed is pretty much all I put in my body.
You did put something in your body, Greg, that we're not actually allowed to talk about. I'm just suggesting that you consider doing detoxes. Take it or leave it, brother.
How do you explain the sun disappearing with the bottom-up obstruction and not changing angular size? JDT Turbo.
Okay, so whenever an object's further away from you, it changes angular size at a slower rate, right? So like, oh, look, the angular size changes significantly because my hand was right by the camera. If my hand was super far away and then I started moving backwards, you wouldn't see it change angular size as much. So just the fact that something could be further away, that would happen. And it does seem to change angular size. And whenever you guys claim it doesn't and show the solar filter images, when we actually count the pixels, it does slightly change. Right. And ironically, even in your model, it claims it changes 0.08 arc seconds up to zenith and then 0.08 arc seconds back down. So your model claims it's just so far away you don't see it much. That's just how it works, especially if you had like the compounding variable of a medium that would like actually exaggerate that effect. So there's on its face, it's not even really expected to change much. It's like a straw man. And also there could be an equidistant limit to your vision, so it wouldn't be expected to change there either. But either way, the horizon's an apparent location. When people say, I'm going to say this real quick, when people say sunsets are impossible on a flat Earth, I immediately feel like I can't talk to them anymore because I know it's just going nowhere, right? But the horizon is an apparent location. It's where the sky appears to meet the ground and converge together. And it's like this convergence line. The sun is going to move away from you, look like it's going down because of perspective, and it's going to move beyond that apparent location called the horizon. And then it's going to disappear from the bottom up optically because the bottom is going to get to that convergence point or behind it first. Flat Earth on a sunset on a flat Earth is actually very, very simple, and that's why every flat Earther thinks it's insane that so many of you say it's impossible. Right? It's actually pretty wild. Almost every glober says it. Jared, have you noticed that? Like every glober, every single one says that sunsets are impossible on a flat Earth.
And Dave has explained, I think, perfectly when you talk about the clouds being at the horizon that are close to you, and then the sun's going to have to move above and beyond those clouds, so it's going to set behind the clouds, which are going to look like it's the horizon. That's where the clouds go. That's where the clouds would all be. Especially the ones close to you. So the sun moving so fast and so being so far away is going to easily eclipse itself with the, what did he call it? The opacity, the deck of opacity, I think.
That's what it is, the atmos. And what I'll say is we've seen the sun disappear above the horizon. And we've seen the sun disappear above the horizon with the perfect horizontal cutoff of the bottom, right? Because there are horizontal layers of the horizon, of the atmos. To me, it's wild that people... Like that proves it will look like it's setting without there being a physical curve of Earth, right? We've seen it happen above the horizon multiple times, even with the horizontal bottom of the sun cut off, because the sun's going beyond those horizontal layers that are then attenuating and blocking out the sun, and it goes beyond the vanishing point. Anyway, I don't care. I'm just making the point that like that's really interesting to look at, right? One side can still man almost all the arguments, and then one side claims sunsets aren't possible despite, and they can't still man it on a flat Earth, and so. That should be a pretty big sign of what's going on.
See forever too. That's the other one that still comes up all the time.
I'll say it till they die. That's impossible, man.
Do you want to have a debate on globe avionics? I don't know who that's to. FTFE, maybe. No.
Who is that?
Ozian.
He's probably asking Witsit or Jaren.
No. Okay. No, I'm only doing this as a.
He's doing it as just a favor. I had to beg him basically because otherwise we were going to sit here and look dumb. Were Michelson and Morley flat earthers or geocentrists? From Alexander L.
They were maybe geocentrists. Yeah, I don't know. Some would say that they're not, because Michelson ended up coming out and said, "Oh, it looks like we proved the Earth rotating," which seems like he said like proved Einstein's theory. He didn't say the Earth's rotating, but I mean, it doesn't matter. They were very confused and perplexed for decades trying to figure out why they can't detect the motion of the Earth, and I don't have to believe what they believe to invoke their evidence. It's like saying you guys can't believe in Newtonian gravity because he thought God was real, and also he thought that God was actually doing the gravity itself. So it's called an all or nothing fallacy. It's stupid. I don't care what they thought.
Jaren Witsit, the default position is the accepted scientific position. It doesn't have anything to do with whether you see the Earth curving or moving, and the default position is the Earth is a globe.
No, that's actually claiming that the default position is built upon an appeal to consensus, which is intrinsically fallacious. We're talking about actual logic and evidence, Occam's razor, that which requires the least amount of assumptions and is the simplest, is most likely to be true if there's equally valid explanations from both sides of it. The default is that the Earth is a stationary plane based on observations. We didn't say based on appealing to consensus and conforming to scientism, right? We said observations, measurements, right, and evidence. So the default position based on all empirical measurements and observations is that the Earth is a stationary plane. The other side claims that that's actually antithetical to what it really is. It's all an illusion. In theory, that could be true. You're going to have to substantiate that it's true. You have the burden of proof. It's super simple.
Leads us to the next one. Saying you have the default position of flat and using it to say that you don't have the burden of proof is the most unscientific reasoning I've ever heard. Are we cavemen?
I've never said we.
Yeah,
I said that we have the burden to substantiate the positive claims that it's stationary and that it's a plane, but that's what all the evidence shows empirically. Your side claims, yeah, it does match a stationary plane prediction for the vast majority of all observations and evidence, but really it's just because the Earth is so big and it's rotating at such a rate that that's an illusion. It's a deceptive illusion that's not really happening. I don't know why you guys are dishonest about this part, but please continue to do it because it makes flat earthers.
Kango 44, when building waveguides and other optical instruments built at scale of light's wavelength, do you think that ether might come into play?
Ether is always going to come into play.
Good answer. All right, FTFE, please steelman the kinematic equivalents of helio and geocentric.
The fact that from the position of Earth, like Austin said, when I asked him what it is, he did describe it, but I just wanted him to talk me through the maths. It's the fact that from the Earth, you're not able to tell if it's us orbiting the sun or if it's the sun moving around us, because kinematically they are the same. You can't tell the difference from any measurements you make on Earth. They are equivalent to say that they are both happening. And Austin's right that nobody should deny that's a thing.
Do you think it's weird they don't teach that in school?
Well, I remember them teaching that in physics at uni, and maybe not at school. I don't know if you really learn about like orbits and that in
you learn
UCSE.
that you go around the sun.
You're told that solar system's real from like 5 up.
They don't get into the maths of it for and not even in A levels. Probably don't touch on anything like that until degree level. So it's not something you would learn at school.
Do you think if they told people in school that it could be either one, that we really don't know, it's impossible to tell? Do you think there'd be a lot more people that were geocentrists? I do. I think there'd be a ton more.
Objectively, there would be, of course.
So Witsit, just saying things is not evidence.
See that when you get.
Good thing I didn't just do that.
What?
I'm using words to represent and propose the evidence so that you know about it.
Craig,
that's how we speak.
We all truly believe that we exist on a spinning, wobbling, tilting oblate spheroid once upon a time, but we love you no matter what. Yes, nobody wants you to have a heart attack. That's what we don't want. Or to have your limbs removed or anything like that. All right.
Well, the limbs.
No, I really do want you to. I want you to consider learning a lesson from it and not treating people the way that you did the previous time. Right. That's what I want you to actually do.
A list of problems from my MRIs. One of my limbs is definitely getting removed.
Well, I will pray for you, bro, and I think you might can reverse it, but you would have to. You have to go towards some of these kooky truther doctors.
My left leg is a lost cause.
Yeah, but saying that is in and of itself a problem.
You might get it back, man. Honestly, you should talk to people like Amanda Volm. I don't know if she's gonna like be your biggest fan. I'll be real, but like you should talk.
She will. She cares about people.
They will help out a lot of people.
I've got 3 pins holding things together. There's no meniscus. There's no patella ligament. I've got arthritis. I've got bursitis. There's scar tissue all through it. A bunch of the bottom bone is all crumbled away from one of the pins. It is a lost case, and they said, all right, we can do knee replacements, but you'd get say 40% use back, and I don't want 40% use. I would rather have a prosthetic and have 80% use. But
really?
Leg is done.
Austin, I asked you what the IV and DV was for Coulomb's experiment to determine the K value of the electric force. You don't seem to understand.
No, your question was incomplete because you fit it within your $5, and I am about ready to go. I'm not answering really big, elaborate questions. Okay. I'm not your monkey. $5 doesn't make me dance. I've already answered tons of questions.
Thank you so much, Austin, by the way. Question for both. What evidence would it take for you to change your mind? I think we've kind of said that, right?
24 hours.
Physical, empirical. Yeah, that's a good. It's an interesting one. It would definitely make me consider it. Yeah, physical empirical measurements of curvature and motion and actual valid, legitimate explanations of the measurements that show the Earth's not moving, other than hand wave dismissal and misrepresentation.
If I set up an experiment like I've done before when I measured Earth's rotation with a pendulum, if I set it up right perfectly and it didn't measure anything, I would ask serious questions because evidence gives my position, and I couldn't just.
Have you read the whole paper about the South Pole pendulum that they set it up and went the wrong way? It did a whole bunch of stuff.
They didn't do things very well in the South Pole. It was a very poorly made experiment.
Yeah, they kept working it until it gave them the answer they were looking for. FTFE, I've never heard a rebuttal on the fact that we falsified the radius of Earth. Why doesn't anyone address that?
Well, you haven't falsified the radius. That's the thing. People say you falsified the radius of Earth, but you strawman it by not including the variable of refraction according to the globe model.
No, the made-up 2019 forward globe model that just made up refraction when the subject matter expert said there was 5 specific types, and then you guys made up a new one, never specified it, applied it to the horizon itself, and then just we're supposed to believe wherever you move a mathematical slider somehow becomes reality. If we don't just believe that fairy tale that I just described inaccurately, mind you, we absolutely did falsify the radius, as have microwaves, LOS, and radio waves, lasers, etc.
Witsit, how do you explain the extensive aurora borealis occurring right now and hours ago in Europe? How would you predict that on a flat Earth?
Well, your model can't even predict what's going on with the solar flares, bro. They say that we could be completely off by 12 hours. We have no idea. We don't know the strength. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know if we're going to see it. We could be off by 12 to 24 or 36 hours. Why do you guys always say things as if your side has such good predictions, but in reality, you guys, none of your model works at all, like from this core outward, right? But anyway, I think it is just very simply, it's an electromagnetic effect.
Dude, this guy, Professor Parks, is on my channel. You can go watch the debate between him and Austin. There was a conversation. Well. Look at Professor Parks. Looks like Witsit just can't stop lying. I mean, what bothers me is you guys saying that, and nothing that he said about Parks is untrue. I watched him have the debate. I mean, so I don't. What part is he lying about? You never put that in there either. Just saying somebody's lying. Tell us what he's lying about. Professor Parks isn't.
And he's been on my channel for 3 hours before that, and we've talked on Discord recorded after that, where he admitted that relational mechanics shows a valid dynamic equivalence. So even the causal mechanism of the motions is valid, and that's what the actual PhDs will tell you, not the anti-flat earthers.
Witless, what is the moon?
Good question, man. It's a light. It's a light in the sky.
Thank you.
Oh, come on, say the rest.
Who's your real parents? That's the question. Does he believe Elon's synchronized CGI rocket landings are real? That's you, Craig. We're almost at the bottom of the door.
Well, people have been there and recorded them, including someone that I used to be associated with personally. Yeah, they are most definitely real. Been recorded by many amateurs. They're not CGI. It happens.
Okay.
I've recorded them. I've recorded them. I think they're talking about like the landings, maybe reverse landing.
Jeranism, if you do,
that's been recorded as well. You know,
it doesn't tell us they're the same.
Some of those videos do look sketch, right? Like there are certain videos that look sketch, but I've seen obviously the rocket launches themselves multiple times.
Jeranism, if you didn't host FTFS and McLooney Tunes, would they still exist? I don't know. That's like a tree falling in the middle of the
Great question, Dave, because we're going to have to jump him after this, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to be hiding. Moist Potato's back. So the sun disappears in the distance and then stars appear right where the sun was? What? So the sun disappears.
Okay,
yeah, the stars are not seen because of the sun. That's exactly
right. Yeah, it's like I don't understand. Perspective applies to both. Their model claims that the stars are the one exception. They don't even know what they're talking about. It doesn't matter.
You use Occam's razor when it's convenient. Why not use it for the shape of the planets? How can every observable planet be a sphere but not the Earth?
It's not Occam's razor to assume that the Earth is a planet whenever the Earth is in the center of the universe. Like, so if you even understood the actual position that you're trying to debunk, right? Observations using Occam's razor show that the Earth is stationary, which means in the center. The astronomical observations show the Earth in the center. That's the default based on Occam's razor. So now that we know the Earth's in the center, that means it's in the only thing in the center. It's distinctly different than everything else. It's the only thing in the center of everything else. It would actually be illogical to think it's just like everything else. It's actually pretty simple.
Austin, here's another $20. What are the IV and DV for Coulomb's experiment, and how did you isolate for mass an experiment to measure the K value measure of the electric force? This is a well-established test. Huh?
What are you talking about? How did I do it? That's what I'm saying. What your question is ridiculous when it comes to what I did, which is just have a mass. It doesn't matter what it is. It's more dense in the air, it goes down. You believe gravity's present. I'm manipulating electrostatics, which is there intrinsically holding it together and in the field, and I made it go up. That's why I'm ignoring your question, because it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. How did I account for the mass? Mass is intrinsically accounted for by the fact that it goes down in your belief system. I'm showing that it has nothing to do with what you think it does. So
we predicted the aurora hours before it occurred. We, by the way, him and his team predicted the aurora hours before it occurred. So how would you have done that on a flat Earth? Also, I thought you said the moon was pure inertia.
I never said the moon was pure inertia. Everything you guys say about me has to be a lie, and that should make you think, Witsit must not be too stupid if the only way we can claim he's stupid is to blatantly misrepresent everything he says, right? I explained that it's very interesting to show the center of a magnetic field and to think that there may be some type of energetic cycle and that we're seeing something similar to what happens in the center of that magnetic field. Then I explained that actually mainstream physics can't even explain magnetism, but it would be basically pure inertia, meaning it's actually truly at rest. It's unchanging. It's a state of inertia, true inertia, because nothing on Earth is truly inertia. There's always vibrational displacement. So it would be like true inertia. That's why I use the word pure just to explain it, really pure potential of inertia. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Your side can't explain anything. And why would we not be able to, if we see the sun acting crazy and we know there's a relationship between electromagnetism on the Earth, why would we not be able to know that it was there? And again, this is a fact. You weren't able to predict it hours before because you had to keep moving it and didn't know exactly when it would happen. That's just a fact. I already looked into it today. I know exactly what happened. They didn't know at all when it would happen.
Two more and then you can go. First one is, let's go with this one. Sorry, I'm late. Haven't been able to be on lately. Witsit, keep on being good. Keep up with the good work, brother. Great job on InfoWars. And I just got on, and I can already tell you are schooling this Glober. So you may.
Hey, man, much love.
You're dismissed. I appreciate it so much, Austin.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll hit you up.
Much love.
All right.
I'll catch up with you guys later.
Okay, you can go too, Craig, unless you want to answer these final three there for you.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Craig, by the way, like, look, no hard feelings, man, but let's just go ahead and throw it all out there. Like, I've chosen not to debate you, not to debate McToon or anything. I did this as a favor to him. It's all cool. You were pretty cordial. It could be worse, but it's all good. The time has passed. I don't want to debate you guys. I wish you the best. I hope that you will consider maybe just being like, maybe there was a few things I said wrong back in the day about this. It doesn't mean the Earth is stationary, but look, I was wrong about this. He is kind of right about this, or relativity does say that, just so your people can be more informed on what it actually says. Take it or leave it, bro.
Thank you for the conversation, and I hope you have a nice rest of the day with your family.
Yeah, much love.
Awesome. Question for, this is a good one, though. Tell Craig Shilajit removes graphene from the bloodstream and has many other benefits. Phoenix Aurelius makes the best Shilajit. And there's a website, phoenixphilius.org. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. Shilajit, I take it every day. I think you should try that too. Let me put it into the chat. There you go. For you, if you're interested. All right, next one is question for the Glober. Why is there no difference when traveling east or west in an airplane if the Earth is spinning? Why don't we experience any difference when traveling into the spin from west-east?
Because the atmosphere is, for the majority, rotating with the Earth. And the only difference between east and west flights would be due to the jet streams. The atmosphere is what gives the plane lift, and if the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth, then the flight times are going to be basically the same, apart from obviously the winds and stuff that are involved.
Okay, and last one. What's Craig's number one globe proof, and what is the flat Earth explanation for that in his view?
For me, Foucault's pendulum smashes it, because not only does it show that the Earth rotates, but based on where you do it, you can map out the forces and figure out the shape of the Earth as well. The flat Earth explanation for it, well, there's a couple. They say that Alias effect shows that it doesn't work in an eclipse. However, there's never been a replication of what Alias claimed. There's also a flat Earth effect claim that it's to do with a toroidal magnetic or aether field that is producing the movement of the pendulum rather than the rotation of the Earth producing the movement of the pendulum. There was a recent claim that it was to do with the movement of a shell around Earth transferring its motion. But none of them hold up to scrutiny, and I still don't think that anyone has sufficiently debunked Foucault's pendulum as amazing evidence for the rotation and shape of the Earth.
All right, thank you, boss. I appreciate it. Sorry for changing last minute. Stuart, if you're out there.
Have you had any word from Stuart? I've blocked him on my end.
I have not checked. I will check. I don't know. Guys, just for your own knowledge, if you're ever not going to be somewhere you're supposed to be, contact the people you have told you'll be there. It's the least you could do, and everyone will be understanding. It doesn't matter what it is, but when you just disappear, it's a weird thing. It's kind of rude.
All right, well, thanks for hosting me, Darren. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, guys, it's been fun. We'll see you soon. Thanks for Austin for coming in last second. We do appreciate it, and we will see you soon. So tomorrow I've got a NASA comedy hour. So look for that. If you need to find out when I'll be live, you can go to t.me/Jeranism show. That is the notification channel. Turn your notifications on, and you'll know whenever I'm going live. And become a VIP if you're interested in that. We have twice a month hangouts, and we've also got twice a month Friday night crypto classes. So there's a whole bunch of fun on there. Two Telegram private groups. So join that. You can go to whop.com/Jeranism. All right. Much love to everybody, and see you tomorrow with that. Sunday, we've got Globebusters. Next week, we've got a couple debates. We've got Flatzoid against Bob the Science Guy. That's going to be on, I want to say it's Tuesday. Tuesday's that. Wednesdays, I'm in a debate against somebody who I told the people I didn't want to debate this subject anymore, but this person actually basically begged me and then donated. So at this point, I'm going to have to do that. But it'll be on whether or not the Bible is the Word of God and whether or not the God of the Bible is the God of the world. So that'll be on Wednesday. And I believe that's all you need to know for now. So again, tomorrow, Comedy Hour. Sunday, Globebusters. Tuesday and Wednesday, we got 2 debates. Much love to you guys. I remind you, please do your own research when you do. You'll never again believe all the bullshit you've been taught. Till tomorrow, this has been Jeranism. Much love. Peace.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nice just hanging out. Now go and hit the bell. Share it with the homies so that they could grow as well. They missing out. Jaren leaves no doubt. If you know what we bout, it's never for the cloud, don't fuck around. Hey, not for the clout, that's too cap, we calling them out. Balls get flat when you cover the route. Jeranism all in your mouth. Truth gets lost like all on the couch, but it's time to get up and make them get out. Uncover the route. Jeranism, we are the crown. Telecasting worldwide, check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies. Telecasting worldwide, check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI. All just scientism lies.
Who this be? What he about? You stay spinning, he said out. About flat earth, it's flat out. He's still standing when you passed out. Globers pound, screaming shout. He can turn you inside out. Yeah, surface deep, he's felt throughout. And he stay grounded, you spaced out.
We gotta run nowhere when we come fact check your facts and match your data. Concept is too abstract, what matters? Try to tune in, but the note get flatter. Tell me I'm flattered. Flatter than pancake batter, now we landed. Jeranism, I'm your captain. Speaking, telecasting worldwide. Check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies. Telecasting worldwide. Check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies. You know equations to the things you make the symbols for, but ain't really explaining what the symbols for. They try to teach you things against the things we taught before. No point in arguing now, they don't wanna talk no more. Okay, got a bite of the truth and now it's certain. That's what life look like when your mind is certain. Okay, got a bite of the truth and now it's certain. That's what life look like when your mind is certain. Thanks to the east side, thanks to the west side, thanks to the north side, way down to the south side. Thanks to the east side, thanks to the west side, big ups to the north side, way down to the south side. Telecasting worldwide, check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies. Telecasting worldwide, check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies. Telecasting worldwide, check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies. Telecasting worldwide, check the globe is falsified. Space is spinning DFI, all just scientism lies.